know. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no. Stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Hi, yeah, sure. Right. Good morning. It's fun. Fun.
Should become like a Knicks basketball show, maybe. And that would be
Not gonna do that.
would be fun to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I bet they're having a lot of fun. It's like, not that I'm rooting for the Celtics. It's that series where you're like, right, this is Red Sox Yankees. That's what this is.
Who cares about the Knicks? The Knicks haven't been relevant.
It's the same group of people. Like, I don't feel good for them.
No, it's not, because Yankees fans are like
Yeah,
Lakers fans.
They're Lakers fans.
Yeah.
They were until 2 weeks ago. When the Lakers got eliminated, they all became Knicks fans. Now, when the Knicks lose, they'll be Celtics fans or whatever. But they all became Knicks fans. They are not tied to anyone. They're tied to whoever's doing well. That's the way it works.
So they're not Orioles fans. Is what
No,
you're
they're
saying.
sure as hell not Orioles fans. Ugh. Hi. Good morning. Glenn Clark Radio. Wish I had something nice to say. I don't. It's what it is. You know, you're watching it. You don't need me to tell you. It's not good. I mean, that was probably the best we've seen Charlie Morton this year.
I think he lowered his ERA, right?
Oh, he definitely lowered his ERA.
What do you go, 4 innings?
Yeah, 4.
Maybe that's what he needs. He needs to he just needs shorter rest now. He just needs 2 days between pitching appearances, and he's fixed.
They got Luis Castillo.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Really?
A number of people that got duped last night. Apparently, Steve Molesky got duped. Feel bad for him.
Did he really?
Yeah. A buddy of mine was texting me. And my buddy also got duped, for the record. I mean, I feel bad for everybody that got duped. I do, because, like, the hope that you had to have felt in that moment of, like, oh, maybe it's not all going to be awful. Maybe for a... It's what it is. It's what it is, man. It's what it is. So, you know, they're going to play again today because that's what the schedule says they have to do. And I would say, somebody asked me at what point do we just stop setting our watch by the Orioles games? And I said, that's a good question. This probably has this might be Memorial Day too.
Okay. So you're saying once you fire the board, that's when it's time to fire the manager?
That's their call. Unfortunately, I don't get to make that call. But
if they fire the manager before then, do we lose the board then, or you're just this is completely independent and
yeah, unrelated.
Okay.
Unrelated.
Okay.
This is really the board will be based on are people still actively watching the game? Because that's really what it's about. It's about the collective experience. I don't tweet during games the way that...
So that people can get mad at you when you say, it shouldn't have been Ryan Mountcastle, it should have been...
Yeah, I don't think anybody's getting mad about it. I think right
Laureano.
now it's just, thank God they won a game. I would say that if I just start to notice that everybody's checked out, there's just not you're just not watching, then this will go by the wayside. 9 games under 500. I mean, it really does get to the point where it's a question of, can they even if they could, quote unquote, turn things around, the work that you have to do to go from a team that's 9 games under 500 to contention is astronomical. Apparently, Zach Eflin's going to be back this weekend.
Let's go.
So there's that. Woo! Tyler O'Neill's going to return this weekend. Yeah, I mean,
guess he swings a bat. So.
I hope. I hope that's helpful. I don't know. It's not even like that. That was the funny thing. Last night I was sitting there like, well, I guess we got to talk about whose roster spot. And then it's like, do you care?
Is it Dylan Carlson?
Do you care? Like, I assume it's Dylan.
Who I
like,
definitely
that makes
know.
It makes more sense than Emmanuel Rivera because Emmanuel Rivera doesn't play in the outfield, right? But like, you would think that Dylan Carlson's skill set.
Well, is that the question? I mean, then is that the question? Do you send Rivera or Mayo the next one down from the infield? Like, they clearly have no faith in Mayo's defense whatsoever.
No, it's weird. I would say it's the exact opposite.
You think it's the opposite?
They have way more faith than there's ever been any reason to believe there should be. They continue to let him attempt to play third base despite how obvious it is.
Why didn't he play last night?
To everyone, because the night before it was an utter disaster. Everybody else is like, this guy can't play third. Why are we still doing this? And the Orioles are like, I don't know. Maybe we give him one more shot.
Didn't work in Norfolk, but it might
work for us.
Yeah.
It might work. It's never worked for anyone before, but it might work for us. I guess at this point we're kind of in a who cares situation as far as like who goes for Eflin. Like, sure, get rid of Matt Bowman. You know, who cares? Like, sure, get rid of. Who cares?
Charlie Morton?
I don't think they do it. I don't think
we could listen to his postgame. Did you want to hear? He went on a long soliloquy.
Oh, did he?
I forget what the question. I don't know. Jake Rill showed the actual dialogue of it, and it was. I mean, it was a book. It was a book of him not really even answering the question. I mean, again, credit to him. Talking to.
But what's he supposed? There is a little bit of a what is. I almost feel bad for everybody involved, like even the beat reporters. Like, what is there? Go down there every game. All right, so you pissed off about this one? You gonna fix it? Like, there's nothing that anybody can say that makes any of it any better. I've always said this, like, there's no nobility. I'm not trying to take a shot at a beat reporter. I've been a beat reporter, right? Like, there's no one needs this. But this is the way the job works. The job is I got to go down there. I got to stand in front of them and say, so, got your ass kicked again tonight, huh? How's it going to be different tomorrow? And they all got to say something. Well, you just got to stick to it, and you got to believe in yourself, and you got to I guess Ramon Laureano was colorful in his response yesterday, like maybe dropped a few curse words in.
Maybe he needs to, say that to the guys.
He's the guy that's actually helping.
Right.
I got nothing, man. I wish I had it. I have poked around a little bit more as everybody keeps asking me about, hey, when might it happen as far as Brandon Hyde getting fired?
Oh, yeah, that is a colorful quote from Ramon Laureano.
What was it?
He said, Andy Costco said, Ramon Laureano, we need to think positive, optimistic. Everybody has their own brain. I can't grab their brains, Hey, look at this, bro. Let's effing go hard, We've got to figure out a way to get a big fire for tomorrow.
Sure. Go get them, boys. They scored 3 runs over 2 games, so Maybe they keep growing. Maybe it was 1, then it was 2. Maybe today it'll be 3.
Maybe Loriano leads off today. You think that's
It's just so depressing. Because you can't help but think about, like, it's almost to the point where not even firing the man. Like, what is firing the manager going to do? Is it going to get people excited about Orioles baseball? Like, now I'm excited. Now I want to watch.
If they brought back Buck, right? That'd be the...
Yeah. Remember they brought Buck in the middle of the season the first time. It's painful, man. It's painful. Until it isn't. Right? Like, unless at some point you wake up and you're like, wow, this team's got a little life, got a little fire. They won 3 out of 4 last week, including winning a series against the Yankees. And you're like, you know what? Maybe. Only to turn around and lose 4 straight. You got anything? You prepare anything for today, or
Orioles wise?
Yeah, I mean, I got
not
I'm
a
really,
whole lot.
I'm really tapped
It's,
out on. We truly are to the point. Like I've done plenty of these shows over the years where you don't even reference the game. Nobody even knows who they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
I've done lots of these shows over the years.
It's weird how it lined up with, like, when I started, like doing Glenn Clark Radio for you. Like, it was right when, like, Adley got called up.
Which to you is the only era of the show that's ever existed.
Exactly.
Right.
Correct.
You.
Correct. The show started when,
Correct.
Back in May of 2022. And that was when Adley got called up. And, this is the worst that I've, like, since I was living and breathing it every day before. But, like, now that, like, this is my job.
I mean, we would spend months breaking down MLB draft prospects. We would, frankly, once upon a time, it's why we started doing, like, we're doing a Bowie trip. It's why we started doing those years ago. I started this with Drew. Oh, God, imagine Drew talking to minor league baseball.
That was great.
Although, I mean, we got everybody, though, like, over the years. Like, we had, and anybody that was anybody, we had them on the show at some point. But imagine Drew trying to talk to, like, 19-year-old Manny Machado.
Probably pretty good at it. Yeah.
So, how's it going for you? Like, no prep whatsoever. I'm like
Did I see that you hit a home run the other day?
But that's why we started doing these, is because the Orioles were bad. And we were like, well, maybe there's something interesting happening in the minors. There wasn't typically. But that was, we're trying to find something to stay involved with baseball season. So that was what we were doing. Now, that stayed. We kept doing those because I developed relationships with those teams. And I do like getting to know these guys. And it keeps me involved when they come up. Like, oh, right, we've talked to that guy. We got to know that guy. That whole thing. I mean, we would start doing, like, I remember Drew and I, the first year we worked together. I started working with Drew in July. And, like, the first week, he said, all right, so next week we should probably start doing team-by-team previews of every NFL team. Like, we do one every morning.
Each week is, this week's AFC South.
Yeah, that was the thought. In July.
Okay, I'm fine. Let's do it.
And then, maybe we were doing like 2 per day, so we realized like we were gonna speed through it.
Gotcha.
And he was like, well, then we can do ACC football previews. Bring on a color analyst for Clemson football. You know what I mean? Like we'll
start doing the Big Ten and SEC previews.
It was that. It's where we are, man. It's a constant reminder. Anytime you've ever thought to yourself, well, it's better when the team loses, right? No. No.
Well, for the diehard football fans.
No. What?
You think the diehard football fans, they don't want to hear us, giving our 2 cents about the Jaguars? And
yeah. Travis Hunter is going to be a game changer, baby.
I love somebody put a highlight together. They were like, I can't wait for this. They did it. They superimposed like a highlight of Trevor Lawrence in the red zone rolling to his right, and then they cut to Travis Hunter on the goal line getting open, and then they cut back to Trevor Lawrence throwing, and it was an interception. They're like, can't wait for this connection.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good bit.
Trevor Lawrence he's got to figure it out. You know, he's got to prove that he's a quarterback.
That's where we're headed, man. I can't. I hate it. I mean, and we also are headed to bigger conversations, right? Like, we're headed not just are they going to trade Cedric Mullins? Like, we're headed into conversations about, like, should they think about trading Felix Bautista? You haven't thought about that once, have you?
No.
Not just you. I mean, anybody.
No, I haven't. Don't get out of my head.
Nobody's thought about that, right? But this is what happens when you have conversations about where you are as a franchise and asset value and things along those lines. It's easy to say, well, you've got 2 more years of control of Felix Bautista. Why would you be trading him? And the answer is because you have 2 more years of control of Felix Bautista.
What do you think they could get back? He'll be 30 in June.
That's why you do it now if you're going to do it. Like, that's I'm not trying to suggest that that's where, like, this is not, somebody's going to clip this and be like, hey, Glenn Clark says the Orioles should trade Felix Bautista. No.
So the Cubs need a closer.
I'm saying that if this continues to spiral, then you've got to really think about what you're doing as a franchise. How's it going to be different next year? Tell me. Tell me how it's going to be different.
Gunnar will be a year older.
Right?
Halliday will be a year older.
That's true. We said those things, remember, coming into this year.
Westberg will be a year older.
Also true.
Colton Cowser will have a healthy hand.
Maybe. Now, what does that do for it?
He'll also be a year older.
Yeah, okay. Right, we got that.
Kobe Mayo.
At this point, maybe Tyler O'Neill's not going to opt out.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just going to say, I'm going to take
Kobe
my
Mayo
money.
might have a position by next year.
Yeah, Willie, though. Willie.
Samuel Basayo should be here.
That will be different.
Yeah.
So you got one.
There we go. Grayson might be healthy.
Maybe. Like, what gives you that? Where does that confidence come from?
Just that, he hasn't, he's resting right now.
And
He's
the one
taking
pitcher,
a gap year. He's
the
taking
one
a gap
pitcher
year.
they have won't be here.
Maybe not,
This is the problem. The problem is those are the conversations you have to start having at some point. Like, you're going from, it's like polar opposites. That's how dramatically bad this is. This is so dramatically bad in the moment that you can't figure out how it's going to be better next year. And if you can't figure out how it's going to be better next year, then you need to recalibrate as an organization. And that is bleak to think about. I'm not. There's lots of time. Lots of time. Perhaps.
What can they get back for your Cano?
No, all of those things, Griffin. All of them are the conversations that you're having. Not doing it today. Just putting it out there that that's the direction we're going in. So go get them, boys. Go win a baseball game today. Huh? Let's not think about any of these topics. Dean Kramer, he was great last time out. How about 7 more shutout innings today, huh?
Let's go, mean Dean.
Let's go.
I mean, that's what we're talking about. They could end up winning 2 in a row. Then how does our tune change? Because Dean today.
Yeah.
Obviously, you feel good about Dean.
And
then
the ace.
You got Ace tomorrow.
Yeah, the ace tomorrow, and then maybe it's Eflin on Saturday.
Whoa.
Right?
Whoa.
Maybe. I don't think it is, but I don't know when he's going to pitch.
Did they say this weekend or?
I saw it this weekend, isn't it? They said they was meeting the team and. Wasn't that the word? The word was that Eflin.
I'll go to the trusty fantasy app. The fantasy
he will
app
start
always.
this weekend against the Angels. We don't know what day.
Great. The guy I'm playing in fantasy has him on the IL, so he'll be able to activate him.
Ah ha ha!
Great.
Sucker. Oh, no. You said he will be able to activate him.
Yeah, he will be able to activate him. Well, I'm the sucker, yeah.
Yeah, you are the sucker.
Now I have to face him.
All right. Jon Heyman will join us a little bit later on this morning. He talked to Mike Elias yesterday. As Mike Elias has been doing his media tour, we'll find out what Jon Heyman thought about what he learned about the situation the Orioles are in. Later on in the program, we will make a trip to Bowie. We will chat with Braxton Bragg. He's off to a red-hot start to the season. Maybe just go ahead. I know he was at Delmarva last year, but maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. Stevenson Lacrosse getting ready for the NCAA tournament. We'll catch up with Paul Cantabene. All of that coming up a little bit later on in the program. Today's show, Today's show is brought to you by County Sports Zone, countysports.zone. It's playoff season. MIAA playoffs start tomorrow. Boys lacrosse. Championships set in girls lacrosse in the IAAM. Find out about all of it right now by going to countysports.zone. It's proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Everything you need to know about high school sports here in the state of Maryland. They've got you covered. countysports.zone. Some disappointing news this week. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's a bummer as we find out that there will be no run for a Triple Crown in horse racing. And the one thing that we always say that the Preakness has going for it every year is that it's always still alive. There is always still a chance. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. Sovereignty will not be running in the Preakness Stakes after winning the Kentucky Derby. I want to talk a little bit about that, but more about the immediate follow-up that everyone has had this week, which is this now definitively the time that we know it's time to change the calendar? Joining us now, he is, of course, part of NBC's coverage of the Triple Crown. He'll be here in Baltimore next week for the Preakness. He is our friend Randy Moss, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Randy, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Sure, Glenn. I mean, I thought it was definitive that the dates needed to be changed about a decade ago.
Yeah.
Maybe this will finally be the impetus, but I'm not holding my breath right now.
So, Randy, I acknowledge that I think this is difficult because we know that the Preakness, the party there has wanted to move the dates. This is not like them. They're not the ones that are causing the problems. Like, they want to move the dates. But I think the sport on the whole has struggled with the idea of how it would alter history to do this. And how do you weigh those two things against each other? Does it change the meaning and the value of a Triple Crown if you do this? And how do you measure the significance of that versus, right, but for the health of the sport, we can't play this game any longer?
No, look, people that come out strongly against changing the dates of the Triple Crown usually fall back on the argument that it would change tradition, number one, and that number two, it would cheapen the Triple Crown by making it easier to win. All right. Number one, the longest tradition in the Triple Crown, and what the Triple Crown is supposed to be all about, is pitting the best 3-year-olds against each other in all 3 races. Okay, that's no longer happening. The sport, the Triple Crown is the single biggest property that the sport of horse racing has. And when it's apparently sick, when something's wrong with the patient, when the patient is ill, you have to fix it. However you do it, it's so important to the sport that when it's showing signs, when the Triple Crown is saying, help me, you've got to do something. You can't just sit there and do nothing and watch situations like this happen. And they're going to keep happening. Trust me, more and more and more, right? It's not just Bill Mott. Mm-hmm. If Todd Pletcher had won the Derby, if Brad Cox had won the Derby, if Chad Brown had won the Derby, if most trainers not named Bob Baffert or Wayne Lucas had won the Derby in 2025, we'd be having this exact same conversation.
Wow.
And then point number 2 about cheapening the accomplishment of winning all 3 races. What makes it easier to accomplish if the Preakness becomes a more difficult race to win? Right now, the best 3-year-olds are not coming back to run in the Preakness. We're seeing Derby winners skip the Preakness. For a decade or more, we're increasingly seeing the best also-rans skipping the Preakness and waiting for the Belmont, right? The Preakness has become a much easier race to win than it used to be. It's just a fact. It's unfortunate, but it's a fact. So I don't know how it cheapens the accomplishment of winning the Triple Crown if the Preakness becomes as tough of a race to win as it should be, but that it no longer is.
Randy, to your point, the suggestion would be that if the Derby winner then goes and turns around and wins a race against, some also ran shooters, like some horses,
right.
Like some local connected horses that like just happen to get in, what value is there in that?
It's actually cheapening the accomplishment of sweeping the Triple Crown, right? And look, part of it is that the way racehorses are being trained nowadays has completely changed from the way it was decades ago, okay? But part of that is because trainers believe, and they believe it to the bottom of their hearts, that horses are not as durable as they used to be. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, but they're more fragile than they used to be. And so therefore, consequently, they think it's not in the best interest of the horse physically to run them back in 2 weeks. Bill Mott referenced that. He said he's thinking of the horse's long-term career, which is a clear indication that he believes running the horse in 2 weeks, back in 2 weeks, might jeopardize the horse's long-term career, right? Trainers are loath to run horses back in 2 weeks. The last 5 years, Todd Pletcher, for example, has run 4,539 starters, okay? Out of those, 20 have run back in 2 weeks or less. That's 0.4%. Bill Mott, it's 1.8%. And both of those guys are winning at a rate of only 5% with horses that they run back in 2 weeks or less, whereas they win with 20% or more with all their other starters.
It's interesting.
They hate it. And trust me, even the winners of the Kentucky Derby that come back to run in the Preakness that aren't trained by Bob Baffert or Wayne Lucas do it only out of a sense of obligation
to the sport
and out of a sense of history, and they don't like it.
So let me ask about that, right? Because I think I know the answer, but I want it from a more educated person. Why doesn't that matter the same way anymore? Why has it become that potentially winning a Triple Crown, why doesn't that weigh out over these other issues the way that it has? Maybe not for eternity, because for eternity we didn't think about the turnaround quite so much, but for the previous, say, 20 years, where it felt like we had the conversation, we knew it wasn't great to have a quick turnaround, but it was still more important to chase the Triple Crown.
Well, in the old days, horses were more durable. So you didn't have that fear that running them back in 2 weeks would create a situation where, the horse would suffer some sort of an injury, hopefully a minor injury, that might jeopardize the rest of his 3-year-old season and maybe even beyond. And now as horse safety becomes increasingly and understandably so at the forefront of thoroughbred horse racing in this country, more and more owners, more and more trainers are considering that and are thinking about that in the decisions that they make. It's just plain and simple. And the solution is plain and simple. You're right. The Maryland Jockey Club has wanted to move the Preakness for quite a while now, especially after Rich Strike won the Derby in 2022 and decided not to run in the Preakness. At that point, the Maryland Jockey Club went to the New York Racing Association and said, we got to do something here. Let's sit down and let's talk about changing the dates of the Triple Crown. NYRA said no.
Right. So that
it's New York. This falls squarely right now in the lap of the New York Racing Association.
So what is the end? Like, Randy, does it have to be that the Belmont moves dates? Does it need to be that at some point that the Maryland Jockey Club and obviously this new organization here in the state of Maryland says, well, then we're going to be the third leg of the Triple Crown and we're going to move on our own to late June, which I know weather-wise isn't ideal. Like, what becomes the answer for solving this problem?
Look, this is a sport, as you probably know, that unfortunately is incredibly resistant to change.
Yeah.
Right? Change comes at a glacial pace in thoroughbred racing, and tradition seems to be at the forefront of every decision, more so in thoroughbred racing than any other sport. I would be shocked if Maryland goes to the extreme of moving the Preakness to the end of the Triple Crown and changing the sequence of the races. What's going to happen, and hopefully now that Sovereignty skipped the Preakness, it'll kickstart this in the eyes of New York, since they can't get a Triple Crown possibility to the Belmont Stakes, would be to move the Preakness to either the Memorial Day weekend or the first weekend in June, and then have NYRA move the Belmont Stakes to the 4th of July weekend. You know, I mean, the 4th of July is a wasteland in terms of sports. Right now, the Belmont's competing against the NBA
hang on a second.
playoffs.
With all due respect, how dare you say that about the Nathan's 4th of July hot dog eating contest, Randy Moss? How dare you, sir?
Who's that guy that always
Joey
wins?
Chestnut. That's our guy.
Joey Chestnut.
Yeah.
Joey Chestnut. Apologies to Joey Chestnut. You know, maybe people can make a daily double then. The hot dog eating contest
and get over to the Belmont afterwards.
State.
Actually, you know what? You might be onto something, Randy Moss. You might have just saved the. Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, because the question to me was with the NYRA being unwilling to move, I would think that it does have to impact them. Not that they know every year they're gonna get a Triple Crown opportunity, but if essentially the trainers are all saying, "Hey, we're never gonna run in the Preakness anyway," then now there's never going to be a shot at it. Like that has to impact them somewhat, correct?
Yeah, I mean, right now, but for most of the past 15 years, the New York Racing Association and Belmont Park have been the beneficiaries of the current 3 races in 5 weeks Triple Crown format, because trainers don't want to run back in 2 weeks, and increasingly the ones that lose the Kentucky Derby are saying, no, we're going to skip the Preakness, we're going to wait for the Belmont. So the Belmont Stakes has a better and deeper field than it used to have. And if you're making the Preakness easier to win, then theoretically it increases the chances that the Derby winner wins the Preakness and then comes to the Belmont with a chance to sweep the Triple Crown, which results in 90,000 fans at Belmont Park and an incredible financial bonanza. But that gets completely blown up if the Kentucky Derby winner stops running in the Preakness. So maybe that will be the impetus now for New York to finally agree to collaborate with the Maryland Jockey Club and change the dates. But yeah, we'll see.
Mike, I just keep thinking about how we've been dealing with this issue, this Pimlico issue, for 30 years in Baltimore. Finally gets all squared away, and now the Triple Crown is dead, right? Like, of course, that's the way that all of this would work, Randy.
Well, look at it this way. Let's try to be positive, and let's try to see the silver lining here. Okay.
All right.
Let's hope that we have a new and revitalized Pimlico.
Yes.
We have a brand new Belmont Park that's currently under construction, and that by the time the new Pimlico's up and going and the new Belmont's up and going, we have a Triple Crown format that actually makes sense for the horses and makes sense for the sport. And maybe we can have the Nathan's hot dog eating contest at Belmont Park on Belmont Day.
Oh, now wait a second. I don't know if they're going to go for that. I don't know if you can pull that part off, but Randy, I love the cut of your jib. All of this sounds great. I'm going to ask, do you truly feel like this moment, and you point out, right, it's now twice in 5 years that this has happened, that this moment we've reached the point of no return, that like the sport has no choice but to dive in and try to fix this in the next couple of years?
Yeah, but maybe I'm just
hopeful.
Maybe I'm just naive.
Yeah.
I mean, the sport of horse racing collectively has been the gang that couldn't shoot straight for decades now, and they'd actually shoot themselves in their own feet. They don't, not just fail to shoot straight. So maybe I'm being a little Pollyannish and a little naive in thinking that that the sport of horse racing, the New York Racing Association, for example, in this situation will come to its senses. They've had a chance to do it in the past, but I guess I'll just have to be positive.
I appreciate that. I'll give you these two because I promise we won't harass you and try to have you come back on next week since we already did this week. One, is there anything just besides? I'll get to the final year of the old Pimlico, but for the actual race itself, is there anything still that you could attempt to sell us on going in towards next Saturday?
Well, look, if journalism runs, which I think there's probably, just reading the tea leaves, better than a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
I thought he was the best 3-year-old in America going into the Derby. Now he's the second best 3-year-old in America because Sovereignty won the Derby fair and square. But, that would be a nice story to see journalism come back and run against Rodriguez from the Bob Baffert barn, who had to be scratched on Thursday before the Derby due to a minor injury, right? You've got Todd Pletcher now in the Derby with the Preakness with a horse named River Thames, who was a close second to Sovereignty in the Fountain of Youth and was a good third in the Bluegrass. So, look, the Preakness is still a major race. It's still the Preakness. It's still the second leg of the Triple Crown. It's just unfortunately this year and in 2022, and it doesn't have the Derby winner, which is going to happen increasingly in the future unless something is done.
And then your thoughts just on this being the final year of the old Pimlico and someone who's been here for so many of them. What is do you have a few emotions surrounding that?
Look, I know people get attached to things like racetracks, old racetracks. I mean, hell, I drove the same car for 25 years, and I had a tear in my eye when I turned it into the junkyard finally, even though it's an inanimate object. I don't have any fond feelings for the old Pimlico facility, right? It was way past due for an overhaul.
Decades.
So I think it's great for the sport. I think it's great for Maryland that Pimlico is being rebuilt, and I think people should come to the races one last time at the old Pimlico and give it a salute, and then look forward to turning the page.
I look forward to it myself. Randy Moss, of course, at Randy_Moss TV. That's how folks can follow you. And anything we can plug for you between now and next Saturday?
Don't expect me to tweet too much.
Oh, I am noticing that. I am seeing that now. Was your last tweet in February? Gosh, good for you.
Exactly.
Good for you, Randy.
I'll be getting to Baltimore. On Monday, and I can't wait because it's always one of my favorite trips of the year. I love the Preakness, and I love Maryland.
Randy, you're the best. Always appreciate you, man. Thanks for hopping on with us, and hopefully someone will heed your call and get this figured out in the coming years. Appreciate you doing this as always.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Randy Moss with us here on GCR from NBC. That is the most compelling way to argue the other side of this, by far. Because I do always understand that as simple as it is for us to say, well, you got to move the dates, the flip side argument is always, but then you're screwing with history. Then a horse winning a Triple Crown when they've had a month between races should not be compared to a horse winning the Triple Crown in the traditional way. And I get it, right? Like, I get it. That it's supposed to matter. There's a reason why it's very difficult to win a Triple Crown. It's not supposed to be easy. I say this all the time, like the comparison I make. When people were angry about them getting rid of the neighborhood play in baseball, I was like, no, it's insane that ever existed. You're getting 2 outs. It's supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy to just say you can have 2 outs. It's supposed to be hard. Why were we making it easier? It's not supposed to be easy to win a Triple Crown in horse racing. But Randy Moss's point is, what makes it easier? spreading the dates out or not having the best horses run the races. And if the best horses aren't running the races, then inevitably, how do you say it means the same thing? Let's just say that, sovereignty runs the Preakness, but journalism doesn't. Journalism is the horse that says, I'll turn around. But you didn't have to face anybody. Then what really is the significance of just the fact that you ran 2 weeks later? It's a compelling argument. I still understand it's not easy, and tradition matters in all of this, right? Like for the Belmont, that you're asking them to bump back, Randy Moss' suggestion, the 4th of July. I think that makes a lot of sense, right? It does. It's probably unfair to say, and I had fun with the hot dog thing, but like Wimbledon's going on then. There are other high-level sporting events, but not in America necessarily, right? Like his point is the Belmont always bumps up against Stanley Cup and NBA Finals. If you were to spread it out by his suggestion, Preakness goes to Memorial Day weekend, and then Belmont goes to the 4th of July, then you'd avoid, yes, the Preakness would still be run at the same time as the playoffs, but not the finals. That's also Indianapolis 500 weekend, but that's on a Sunday, so... And, like, the collective sporting conscience doesn't devote anything. I don't even really know how much.
Lacrosse Final Four, right? Then that would be.
Yeah, that would be difficult in Baltimore. But Baltimore's kind of like said, we're not really. It will be interesting to see after the Ravens finish renovating the stadium if they get back into the mix for the Lacrosse Final Four.
Well, I mean, he also pitched the first week of June as well, so the post Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want to spread thin and have Preakness and potentially Lacrosse Final. Those are two major events.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want them to eat into each other, especially now with like the Preakness Festival and what they want to do moving forward. But I just don't know how interested the Ravens are in having the Final Four anymore. Like the Ravens basically just sort of said, meh. Now part of that was the infighting between them and the Orioles, legitimately. Like we haven't talked about this a lot over the years, but part of the problem was the Orioles would not guarantee them Memorial Day weekend. And the thing that we learned when I was doing, remember the famous Ravens win the Super Bowl, Orioles have a game scheduled thing, and everybody was mad at the Ravens because they were trying to strong-arm the Orioles into moving that game, and it just was one of the dumbest times in our history as a city. But one of the things that I did in my reporting on that was I found out that the Orioles have the first right to every date, just because they were there first. In order to get the football stadium downtown, one of the concessions that was given to the Orioles was you have the right to every date on the calendar.
Wow.
Which is absurd. Like, that's not good for the city. That's not good for the state. Nobody wanted to talk about it, but if the Orioles had advanced in 2012, I think it was, then the Baltimore Marathon would have been canceled.
Oh, wow.
But we don't care about that the same way because it's not a team that we collectively like. But it would have been very harmful to a lot of people. Like, we have not done a good job of – the Orioles are probably the biggest reason why the car race never worked. Now, the car race was also – they had a lot of other problems, but the biggest problem was the relationship with the Orioles. And that was – the Orioles would not guarantee the Ravens could have Memorial Day weekend to themselves. And then you run the risk of, like, well, if we've got a Final Four going on and there's an Orioles game, like, who gets the parking lots? This doesn't work. And so the Ravens just sort of said, we're out. Now, with new ownership for the Orioles, is it possible that there can be more of a collective, like, hey,
we're in the city together?
I think at this point we know Baltimore will not be the permanent home. The way that once upon a time we had hoped that, like, Baltimore would become the Omaha of lacrosse, right?
Yeah.
That, like, we would just have the Final Four every year. I think lacrosse has figured out that's not what they want to do. Right now it's kind of Philadelphia and Foxborough are the two. Part of that is because, like, the Patriots with Bill Belichick were so driven, lacrosse heavy. I don't know how great it is for the sport to have it located that far northeast. I think it's better to probably have it a little bit more central. And there's going to be a new stadium in D.C. as well, it appears, we think, in the coming years. So that'll be competition there. the point of all this to say, I would like to hope that with new ownership of the Orioles, perhaps they would be better stewards to say, hey, we see the value of the lacrosse Final Four for the city and for the community, and it could be good for us too. So we want to work with you. We want to be good partners here. And if it's just every other year that you're going to be trying to host, then we'll make sure that we work with Major League Baseball to not have games on Memorial Day weekend those years. I don't think it would be silly for the baseball team to ever give up Memorial Day weekend altogether. It's a great weekend for getting people to come to a baseball game. Mm-hmm. I understand. This isn't even really a criticism. I understand why they wouldn't say, we're not going to let you have it every year. But if the plan is to pitch for it like every other year, every third year, we will work with you to make that happen. I hope that Baltimore gets, at post-stadium renovations, gets back into the lacrosse Final Four game. And if they do, then yeah, that's probably not a great weekend for the Preakness. But first weekend of June, or the weekend after Memorial Day, be the better way of saying it. I'm listening. But, again, the New York folks have to go along with it, and I don't know. We'll see. Apparently, according to Randy Moss, they've been very reluctant to do that so far. But this hurts them, too.
Right.
And undoubtedly hurts them. And they're now partnered with Fox, and, this is the only, Triple Crown race that Fox has. If you're saying to Fox, you just spent all this money and you're never going to have the shot at getting a Triple Crown, you would like to think that they maybe would go back and say, hey, I know you guys love this date, but let's talk about it. Because it ain't great for us, your partners.
I mean, the 4th of July date sounds very enticing as well for Belmont.
I don't know if they'd want to make it the 4th. I think everybody wants it to be a Saturday.
Well, yeah.
And so it'd be like the Saturday closest to the 4th of July
That's what
instead. Probably is the better way of doing it. It would be really interesting to float it and just say it's going to be on the 4th of July every year no matter what. That's what they do, obviously, for the hot dog contest. And there is no greater symbol of America than the hot dog contest.
I mean, this year worked out to be the Saturday, July 5th is what
right.
It lines up this year. So it'd be basically July 4th, give or take. But I mean, yeah.
I'm listening.
I mean, that Saturday, that first Saturday of July every year.
I hope Randy Moss is right.
New York wants change as well.
That everyone recognizes that there has to be change.
So it does start.
Not even about
Maryland.
Not even about. Oh no, they've won. Maryland. This is him. Everybody involved. The parties that have run the Preakness have been trying to move the date for years. They are not the problem here. The problem.
So it has to get approved by New York as well.
The Belmont has to move dates. You just can't you can't say, well, we want to move dates. Well, then you can't run the Preakness 1 week before the Belmont. Everybody has to work together on this. The Derby's kind of like the Rose Bowl, right? This is when we're doing it. Although I think I saw this year the Rose Bowl is moving up an hour.
What?
Yeah.
They can't do that.
Wild. Blew my mind when I read that. I don't know how they were able to get that.
So Maryland will be playing at 4 o'clock this year in the Rose Bowl?
Great point. Well, the Rose Bowl is a playoff, so it might not be. Maryland might go to any of them. This is not.
Well, they'll send them to the Rose Bowl.
No longer for the Big Ten champion. It's just a playoff game.
They'll get the first round bye. So that's why.
Great point.
They're going to win the Big Ten.
Malik Washington wins the Heisman. I'm all for it. May it happen. But everybody's got to work together. The Derby is the one. That date isn't moving. And it really would be almost impossible. You can't really move up. It's too much of a crapshoot weather-wise to move the Derby into April. That's kind of nuts.
It rains every year anyway.
So that one sort of stays where it is, and then you go from there to try to pull it off. I also understand heat is an issue here. And there's I brought that up with Drew yesterday. Asking the Belmont to move back much further, your heat does become a factor. Now, people still go to baseball games, in July. But for the horses as well, you do have to consider the heat when you make any of these decisions. So all of it is tough. It's not simple, but the first element is there's got to kind of be a deadline. We've got to be able to say, we've got to fix this. The Triple Crown is broken. It's been a significant part of American sports culture. It's We can't just let it die and do nothing about it. It's got to be fixed. All right. We got a lot more to do. When we come back in, you want to do a brief version of Fighting Words?
Brief.
Yeah, I mean,
Part 1 of
Jon
Fighting
Heyman's
Words.
going to join us at 11.
It's part 1,
yeah,
sure.
something like that. You really want to talk about it? You really want to talk about your boy? We'll come back in. Fighting Words, and then Jon Heyman joins us next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Discover luxury without limits at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. This April, unlock a world of high fashion delights and exclusive style. Earn entries daily starting April 1st and join our drawing on Friday, April 25th. 19 will win up to $2,000 in cash and free play. And one grand prize winner will take home a curated Versace homeware collection. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas combos, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious filling sandwiches including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, go ahead and hit the thing, and we'll do it now. Or now. Or even now. This is a professional operation. Oh, my God.
I literally can't find it.
This is the operation that we have.
It's Fighting Words.
Got too many things.
Griffin Bass.
Added the NHL one yesterday, and apparently that's just one too many.
That's the problem?
I got too many rows to find.
Lord. Fighting Words brought to you by the print issue of Press Box, available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. On the cover, you see Felix Bautista, you see Tyler Wells, you see Kyle Bradish. Great cover story from Luke Jackson about the hard road back from major elbow surgery. Go get it right now. New print issue of Press Box. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was big boxing weekend.
It was.
They kind of, well, I mean, it ended
up
being kind of lame.
Yeah, I don't know how many of them were good. But
Inoue stole the show.
You were all in on Inoue.
Yes, I was, and he certainly stole the show. So I guess we'll go chronologically. Yeah, Friday night was the Times Square thing. I ended up not really seeing a whole lot of it, but I did catch the Ryan Garcia fight. And a massive upset as Rolly Romero upset Ryan Garcia, and Ryan Garcia looked like he really wanted no parts of Rolly Romero at any point in that fight. He kind of got jabbed up a few times and just kind of was running away and backing away for 12 rounds. So it ended up being pretty boring. You know Ryan Garcia for his
really gonna
lights out knockout power, and
yeah, of course
he was scared the whole fight.
His biggest win was the one that he got popped after, and it's really hard for him to beat the rap of being an Instagram fighter.
It is.
Really hard.
Haney fight was kind of boring. Haney did win. He at least won, but his fight was pretty slow as well. So it doesn't seem like Garcia Haney, at least for 2025, is necessarily in the books. It was weird because Romero in his post-fight interview was like, I still think they should get their rematch, Garcia and Haney. Which was weird. Nobody else is really banking for that. So maybe Haney fights Teofimo Lopez, who fought earlier on that Times Square card. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going to happen next. But yeah, Ryan Garcia, very laid an egg on Friday night in Times Square. Canelo won a bit of a slog of a decision as well. Not a bit. It was a slog of a decision. He won. We that was predictable. And that was really the only takeaway you could take away from Saturday night's fights. So then you had Sunday night in Vegas. First time Naoya Inoue was, or at least in like 5 years, I think, that he was gonna be fighting in the States. The last time he was in the States, it was like it was COVID, so he was still in Vegas, but it was nobody was there. Yeah. He stole the show. He fought Ramon Cardenas, and he actually, Inoue got knocked down in the second round.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, snap. This guy Cardenas, he's clearly not backing down to this guy at all, and then Inoue was pretty much unfazed. He came back the next couple rounds. He was slowly outpointing him, and then he just really turned it on in like the 6th and 7th round, and then in the 8th round, he finally mercifully got a TKO. It was a really, really fun fight. If you're trying to turn someone into a boxing fan, I think this is the fight you might want to try to show them. So, but Inoue moved up in the pound-for-pound rankings, so it's Usyk number 1, Inoue number 2 in the pound-for-pound boxing rankings in the world. Yes, elsewhere, the Crawford-Canelo fight is still on. That'll be the first TKO boxing card in September. Looks like Inoue's next opponent will be the Uzbekistani Akhmadaliev.
Yeah. In September, right?
Yes, also in September. He's only had 14 pro fights. He's 13-1, so not a massive name, obviously. But Inoue still he is quickly growing in more and more in popularity. He already has his 26th fight, his first 2026 fight lineup as well against another undefeated Japanese boxer. If everything lines up as it should, but Inoue is he's very, very
you just
good.
Want to see him fight somebody.
Exactly.
You want a big fight is what you want, not
Correct.
just watch the guy fight.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So that was boxing. I don't think there's really anything this.
No.
There is boxing this weekend, but
there's a top ranked card I think on Saturday.
That sounds right. I forget who's in it. But yeah, that was boxing. Then also on Saturday night, the UFC was in Des Moines. And, like we all thought, Corey Sandhagen was going to knock out Davison Figueiredo in the second round. It wasn't going to be a slow decision like we've seen Sandhagen do. He clearly wants to go for the title right now. So Corey Sandhagen finishes Figueiredo and, should be next in line, depending what happens in the Marab Sugar Sean O'Malley title fight next month. So we'll see what happens for Corey Sandhagen. He's an easy guy to root for.
That was the headline?
It was, yeah. That was the main event. That was what they pitched as the main event.
Nothing else occurred?
There was some
Nothing
other
else
fights
at
on
all?
the card. It was a little bit of a slow card.
Right.
There wasn't a whole lot.
Right. I feel like there was something that occurred.
Yeah, Bo Nickel did fight.
How'd that go?
Poorly. Extremely.
It seems that way.
Extremely. It was a extremely disappointing night for Bo Nickel. Everyone's throwing, this guy sucks, this, that. He needs to change weight classes. The fact of the matter is he's had eight pro fights in MMA. This is just what you do when guys lose.
Maybe got a little overhyped.
I still am not necessarily with that. I think they handled this very poorly. I think Renier de Ritter, I forget what we got. I guess because it was boxing last weekend, so that was what I got distracted by. So I didn't dive into it too much. But this was a very, very tough fight for Bo Nickel because Renier de Ritter is very talented on the ground. He's a 2-division champion in 1 championship before coming over to the UFC. He's had obviously way more experience than Bo Nickel. So I hate the way that this whole event kind of came about and the way it was covered as well. That the UFC, they have this lightning in a bottle right now, or at least they had in Bo Nickel, where you had a lot of people that wanted to see him fight, whether it was for one reason or another, you want to see him get knocked out, or you want to see him continue to win and choke guys out. And they did a horrible job of covering it. They didn't show the wall. This is Bo Nickel, Penn State wrestler, in Des Moines, Iowa, And you actually had the because the guy De Ridder is is European. He's from the Netherlands, so everybody was booing him, and they were actually cheering for Bo Nickel in Iowa, which seems absurd, seems unheard of, and they didn't show the walkouts at all. The whole card was.
That's probably
awful.
why he lost.
I mean, I think so
That's
as well.
probably
But
the reason.
now again, it's just another fighter, and you completely forget about it. No one cares.
It's kind of what happens. Yes.
There's
who are you mad at?
I'm mad at the UFC for
Right,
scheduling him against Renier De Ridder when they should have.
They just sort of kept giving him tomato cans.
Yeah. You have to slow. You have to roll. You have to slow it more and more and more. And Renier De Ridder.
Somebody.
I mean, then
people
this is the first time you're going to have him on TV.
People weren't all that impressed by his fights against the tomato cans.
Paul Craig was the first one where it was where it was very boring and unimpressive, and that's because Paul Craig shows very unique challenges on the ground.
Here's the deal. I'm gonna acquiesce. I'll let you preview the pay-per-view later in the show. All right. I don't want to because we've already given this way too much time. But I'll let you preview the pay-per-view. Griffin. This is one of the. It would be like me shutting down the show for a tennis segment. I love it. I love it, but I'm the one. No one else gives a rat's ass who won Madrid. Not a concern.
Who won Madrid?
Nobody cares. Nobody.
You don't know, do you?
I do. Sabalenka beat Coco Gauff. Actually, Coco Gauff made a hell of a run at Madrid, including she beat Iga in the semifinals. Yeah, in the semifinals. So I'd love to talk about it, but I don't think anybody else wants to hear it. And then who won? It was Draper and Ruud in the men's final, and Ruud, Casper Ruud beat Jack Draper in 3 sets in the final. So yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time discussing it because I don't think people are all that concerned. But I'll let you preview the pay-per-view here in a minute. Yeah, let's get back into some Orioles conversation this morning. Obviously not good, as the Orioles will try to avoid a sweep at the hands of the kind of lowly Minnesota Twins a little bit later on this afternoon. I want to talk about that, and our next guest spent some time chatting this week with Mike Elias for his show. He, of course, you know him, MLB Network, the New York Post, among other places. He's the great Jon Heyman, and he's back with us this morning here on GCR. John, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always great to catch up with you. Thank you for taking time for us.
Oh, sure, Glenn, anytime.
John, I it's interesting. I think a lot of people, we've seen Mike Elias do a bit of a media tour this week. And a lot of people have wondered why, right? Like, why is Mike Elias so interested in talking given how things were going? Was this something that you guys had sought out? Like, you wanted to talk to Mike Elias about this? Had he reached, how did this come about? And what were you most interested in hearing from Mike Elias?
Yes, we reached out to Mike, and he agreed to come on, which, we're not surprised because he's been on our show before, but it's a little surprising because I don't think we've ever had a GM whose team is struggling to this degree come on before. I'm not sure that we've asked even.
Right.
We normally have guys on whose teams are
doing well,
outperforming.
Yeah. Right.
And so I give him credit for coming on the show.
So, I guess what's interesting to me in the moment, right, is we are struggling in Baltimore, John, with the line between how did this happen and does somebody need to pay a price for it, right? And I get that part of this is we're probably overreacting to a fairly small sample size, but, they finished 42 and 46 down the stretch last year. Is it a large enough sample size that we know there's a genuinely real problem with the Baltimore Orioles?
My opinion is no. I mean, he's been there a while. He rebuilt. They made the playoffs the last couple of years, right? So, I think that is a pretty small sample size. I do believe it's the injuries that are the main cause of the issue right now with the Orioles. Obviously, there have been a few deals that haven't worked, but, a few deals that haven't worked versus, a half decade of good work. I would not recommend firing Mike Elias at this point. I mean, it seems to me drastic. I was, when I first tweeted that we were going to have him on, I was a little surprised at the number of people who tweeted back to me such negative things, even vitriol. I mean, obviously the team's not doing well. I get that. The fans are not thrilled. I get that. But, I mean, this is not a situation where we've had multiple years of disappointment. As you mentioned, it is a fairly small sample size. You can go back to the last half of last year and obviously the first 6 weeks of this season. But, overall, I mean, I think he's a very good general manager. So I think it's overdone, the criticism.
I just retweeted a link to the show where you can find the conversation that John and Joel had with Mike Elias. John, I think the biggest issue in Baltimore was this supposed to be the moment, right? Like we went through the rebuild, you got all the talent, it's working. Now you add to it to capitalize on the moment and put yourself in best position to try to win a World Series. And I think that's the part that's really tough to figure out is why wasn't that the philosophy this past offseason, right? Like, why wasn't there more aggression? We know they did offer, Corbin Burns what would have been a record AAV contract, but for a shorter amount of time. But there was no real plan B from there. Like, that, I think, is the part that's really a difficult part to wrap your head around is after everything that you've been through, why wasn't there more aggression to capitalize on this group of players?
Well, I mean, the Orioles are a smaller market team. I don't think that we can really expect them to go out and sign Juan Soto or even Max Fried to compete with the Yankees. Max Fried got $218 million a record for a left-hander with a big market 8-year deal for a guy who's in his 30s. I wouldn't have anticipated the Orioles doing that. I think I would give them credit for making a bold effort with Burns, and that was just an opening offer. But, unfortunately for them, he wanted to be out in Arizona where he lives, and that was his priority. So they weren't going to be able to get him. And
John, did we lose you?
Yeah.
Sorry, we got you back. Sorry, we lost you there for a second, John. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
I apologize.
That's okay. Yeah, that's the issue with the cell phones.
100% technology being what it is. We totally understand. John, I get. Is it weird to you there wasn't an in between though? Like, and I'm not, I don't know that you want to build a team of Nick Pavettas, right? But like, it feels odd that the in between, even if you say, hey, we couldn't spend the way, I love Max Fried. I wanted Max Fried too, but like to go from that to or a year for a 40-plus-year-old Charlie Morton, I think that's the strange part that there wasn't an in between those two things for the Orioles.
Yeah, I think there's a philosophy among a lot of the newer GMs, and I really can't argue strenuously with it to try to sign guys who've got a good to better track record on short-term deals. It certainly has worked generally for the Mets. Now, obviously, Montas and Minaya are out. The pitching injury epidemic is terrible. But they have scored big with Canning at a small deal, and last year with the Minaya and Severino. It's a philosophy, I think, of many of these younger GMs, and not to pay big for 30-something free agents, particularly pitchers. It's a dicey thing to go out and earmark $200 million for a pitcher in his 30s. And I certainly, for a small market team, I really wouldn't expect it. I mean, we have not seen $200 million deals for pitchers in small markets. I mean, I know that the Diamondbacks aren't the biggest market, but they're a lot bigger market than the Orioles. Those markets that have done that have been, the Red Sox with David Price, the Dodgers, and the Mets on occasion, but in the past. But now it seems to be the philosophy to go for these shorter deals. Now, unfortunately, their deals have not worked. I mean, Charlie Morton has not been what he was in the past, and obviously, to this point, Kyle Gibson does not look like what he was. He was never an ace, but with their offense, even an average pitcher should be able to win games. So I'm not in disagreement with the philosophy. Unfortunately, they look like they picked the wrong ones at this moment. But I'm not going to castigate a guy or certainly fire a guy who's, let's say, took these short-term gambles and they didn't immediately pay off. I mean, the Mets did short-term with Verlander and Scherzer and at much higher rate and didn't work, and they just rolled with it because they're the Mets and they have the big money. But the Orioles can't really do that. They have to do something a little bit less in a small market, and so I'm a little surprised at the vitriol that I saw when I tweeted that we were going to be interviewing Mike.
John, I wonder on the flip side how concerned you would be about like Adley Rutschman at this point, right? Like I think that to me is you really end up finding yourself puzzled because we started to see this in the second half of last year, and I think a lot of people wanted to write it off and say, all right, everybody goes through. We're certain there's something physical going on there, and that's the story. He'll come back 100%, and he'll look like a different guy in the spring, and that's not been the case. What do you make of how deep we are with this and Adley Rutschman? Because to me, that is much more punishing for the Orioles in the big picture if Adley Rutschman is not the baseball player that he had shown himself to be when he first arrived in the bigs.
Yeah, I'm certainly worried about that. I would say that would certainly be an issue because he was an all-star, and right now he's been just a little bit above average catcher for several months. So that certainly is a concern. When they made that decision, it didn't look like a crazy decision. I happen to have seen Bobby Witt Jr. at a perfect game competition, and he looked unbelievable, but I'm not a scout. I think scouts were generally split, and those were the two top picks. And, they went with a switch hitting catcher who had big offensive potential, and it looked really good for a while. But, yeah, I would be with you guys on that one. I'm concerned that he's been pretty close to average over more than a half a year at this point.
John, I wonder, too, you're saying that you don't think that the Orioles should fire Mike Elias, nor do I think that's even – I don't think that's a practical way of doing business in the middle of the season, right? Like, I just don't even think that's a conversation. But I do wonder, as someone who I will tell you, John, I like Brandon Hyde. I don't think any of this is his fault. But I also kind of think this is how baseball works sometimes. And whether it's your fault or not, when you end up mired in a funk, sometimes that's just what you do, is you switch out the manager. I'm not rooting for that to happen to Brandon Hyde, but I do think, I know that Mike Elias is saying all the right things and is saying that's not what we're going to do, but at some point, do you kind of have no choice but to try to shake things up that way?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that this is the time at this point. I think the injuries are the cause of the situation. I'm kind of with you on that one, though. I mean, that is generally done when a team underperforms for a long period. It is the manager who usually bears the responsibility. It takes the brunt of it. I do think he's been a good manager for the team. I don't think this is the time. I would give him more time. Again, this is another guy who's a friend of the show, but this one I get a little bit more, I got to tell you. I'm kind of with you on that one. I would say that it would be a consideration at some point. But let's be fair. I mean, really the injuries are the biggest issue right now for the team, to that pitching staff, more than anything else. But you are correct that there is underperformance by Rutschman and some others. And that, fair or not fair, that lays on the lap of the manager.
100, and this is such a different conversation, right? Like I definitely cannot blame Brandon Hyde for all of those injuries, but it feels like that's the way that it works. Like at some point you just shake things up. You say, hey man, sorry. This is what we got to do in order to try to light a fire, to wake these guys up a little bit, whatever it is. And when is that? Because I think I agree. I've always said you don't do any of this before Memorial Day, right? But that's arbitrary. That's just me throwing something out. There is no science to it. When can you look at a sample and say, okay, this is when it's appropriate to have that conversation?
Yeah, I would just say not yet. I don't know, after that, all bets are off, and Mike is saying the right things. At this moment, I'm in agreement with him. This is not the time. They made the playoffs the last couple of years. This is not a guy who's an obviously terrible manager who we've seen in other spots in other towns, probably in Baltimore too at some point. But I just don't think this is the time. I think it's like a lot of things. You know it when you see it, and it's not yet. But I do see that as a bigger consideration in coming months.
Yeah.
Elias, I think, is I would expect that he's fairly well ingrained with the ownership who have been dealing with him. And I from dealing with him myself, I mean, I think he's a very smart guy. Does that always translate? Sometimes I've seen guys I think have average intelligence and are great general managers, and the opposite can be true, you know. But I do think that he's probably ingrained with the ownership who's been dealing with him, and he's a very impressive guy. And you don't fire someone over, you know, a couple of flyers on 1-year pitchers like Kyle Gibson and Charlie Morton, and you know, even the trade with Miami looked like a little bit of an overpay even at the time, but you know, they were in a situation where they wanted to try to go for it, and that looked like a mistake.
It is.
So,
it is tough to watch. Tough to
yeah,
watch
2,
the season
3,
Cal
4
Stowers is having.
mistakes that-
Boy.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a good one at this point. I would agree with you. So there are a few, but that's really not something that you know. He in my opinion, he's not close to being fired, nor should he be. And I don't even think it's really worth a discussion at this point, as I've said.
And, John, I'll wrap with this because I would say from my conversations with David Rubenstein, like, he's shown an unbelievable amount of deference towards Mike Elias. But, like, I'm measuring that against, but David Rubenstein keeps talking. He always uses the phrase race to the finish line, right? Because he knows his age and, you know, he's here for a good time. He's not here for a long time. I do wonder if at some point he maybe steps in a little bit more and says, look, I appreciate how you want to do things, but I'm here. I've been talking about trying to win a World Series. I'm not going to be the owner for 30 years. I'd like for you to be a little bit more aggressive. I just wonder if that's going to be perhaps the next step in this process.
All right. First of all, as an older fellow myself, he looks like he's in very good shape.
He's in good health. But I wouldn't say these things if he didn't say.
He may be there longer than you think.
I know, but he's saying them himself, John. I would not say these things about another person if he didn't say them himself. He says these things very clearly. I would not be comfortable doing it if he didn't say it.
Right. I mean, obviously he's, you know, he's on the back nine, as we shall say, but he's in good shape. And look, how long did Angelos last? Right.
Yeah, that's fair.
He lived into his 90s, right? So, you know, we may have 20, 30 more years here, and I think they've got a good owner. I think he's a very reasonable guy from the limited things that I've seen, and I've seen him on TV and in person a bit. So I just don't think we're anywhere near anything like that for the general manager. Now, the manager is in a more precarious position. As we know from baseball history, there is a shorter leash on the manager than the general manager. You change the general manager, you're changing the whole organization. You change the manager, you might actually, as you mentioned, light a fire, or you're not changing the whole organization. It's one guy, right, and the coaching staff, but. You change the general manager, that's really an overhaul of the whole organization. So, and beyond that, I do think Mike Elias is the right guy for the job.
I know I said a lot, but what you just said there was interesting to me, John. Would you be inclined to change out the entire staff, or to, sort of what the Phillies did with Rob Thompson, identify someone on the staff to make them the manager in the process?
Yeah, no, I couldn't tell you enough about the club. I got to be fair about that. I don't know, and I think it's too early to even. I mean, I get the speculation when it comes to the managers, certainly, and there will be some point in which it has to become a serious consideration. But I couldn't tell you who on that staff is equipped to do the job. I mean, I have to be there in the clubhouse. I think you need Roccabaco for that one.
I understand. I think most people
That's
assume
beyond my area of expertise. I'd be faking it.
I get
that
it.
point.
Most people around here assume it would be Buck Britton, who's Zach Britton's brother, who had been a manager in the system for a few years.
I know the name, but I can't.
Yeah, I get it.
I know
get it.
Zach Britton. I don't know his brother.
I totally get it.
I got to be fair. I'm with the Yankees and the Mets the most. I see games with the Orioles, and when I do, I'm dealing with Brandon Hyde, or I'm talking to Jackson Holliday. I haven't gotten to know the coaching staff, so I couldn't tell you.
I understand.
I could fake it and pretend that I do,
appreciate
but
it.
I'm not going to do that.
I appreciate it, John. At Jon Heyman, of course, how you follow him in the show to see his conversation with Mike Elias. And I just retweeted, so if you go to @Glenn Clark Radio, you can find a link to that as well. to check it out. Jon, is there anything else we can plug for you, sir?
No, that's all good. I appreciate the advertisement. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Jon, thank you for taking the time for us. Look forward to doing it again soon.
All right. Good luck. Better times will be ahead.
I hope you're right about that. Thanks, Jon.
I can't tell you when, but sometime.
Jon Heyman with us here on GCR. Appreciate him taking the time for us. I think he's right, by the way. Like, I know you're going to be frustrated. And I don't agree with him about, you can't criticize the guy. I do think that there's lots of criticism. But what I do agree about is that firing the general manager in the middle of the season is just not something you do in baseball. That just doesn't happen. Not given these circumstances. Not someone who has been successful and has been a part. Like that's something you do the end of the year, after the season, if that's the direction that you want to go. But you don't do that in May. The managerial side, that's a different conversation. But as much as, everybody wants to tweet, and I've seen, the guns have kind of turned in the last couple of weeks. It was funny because when 3 weeks ago I was like, I'm not really sure that I blame the manager more than I blame the general manager. It has felt like in the last 3 weeks, public perception has turned a bit, and there's a bit more frustration that way. But I just don't think you make that type of change in the middle of the season. I think it just doesn't work that way. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Anywhere, any big event, Griffin's going to tell us more about the UFC pay-per-view in a bit. And if you're looking for where it is that you're going to go to watch it, instead of spending a bunch of money to order the pay-per-view at home, I would encourage you to hang out inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel. They'll be showing it on the 100-foot media wall. It's going to be a great Saturday. Fights, playoffs, baseball, all of it right there inside Sports and Social. Incredible atmosphere. The FanDuel Sportsbook right there. Great specials. They do great specials every baseball game day during the course of the season. And again, why spend all of that money to order the pay-per-view when you can instead get to Sports and Social, enjoy some delicious food, and watch it on their 100-foot media wall inside Live Casino and Hotel. It's time for us to make a trip to Bowie to chat with a member of the Chesapeake Baysox. And our guest today is just, he's unhittable. He's absolutely dominating as he's jumped up to the AA level. It's a pleasure for us to welcome in pitcher Braxton Bragg, who's with us now here on GCR. Braxton, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Braxton, are you a superstitious person?
Yeah, I'm a little stitious.
Little stitious. All right, that's fair. That's fair. Because I'm going to ask, what is going on this year? And I'm wondering if you're worried about even talking about it because it's going so well.
Yeah, it's a great year so far. A lot of hard work and stuff, but it's a lot of fun when I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
Imagine.
But yeah.
Braxton, can I ask, were there changes coming in? You had a good season a year ago at Delmarva, right? Were there changes that you made? Were there things that you incorporated, either emphasis-wise on certain pitches or introducing new pitches? Were there things that tangibly changed, or would you say, what's really funny is not at all. I'm just getting better results this time.
Yeah, no, I didn't really change much mechanically. I just kind of, gained weight. I gained 10 to 15 pounds. And then I started throwing the kick change, which is the hottest pitch in baseball right now. But it just clicked for me. And it's been a great pitch for me so far this year. And then, just the velo ticked up with gaining weight. And I don't know. It's a lot of fun right now.
Yeah.
Doing,
how much
what I got going on.
How much? Okay, so what was the weight to velo trade off? Is there a rule? Did you have to? If you put on 10 pounds, that gets you 1 mile an hour. What is the math on weight to velo?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just averaging, about 95 right now. And last year I was averaging 94. So
okay,
I guess the one, but I'm grabbing 7 and 8s now, which is something I didn't do last year. So, yeah.
That's got to be cool, right? Like, you look up at the gun and you're like, whoa, 98? Like, that's got to be a fun feeling, right?
Yeah, for sure. And especially last week in Hartford, because the stadium gun was a little juiced and it said I was hitting the hundreds, and I was like, on the mound, I had no idea if it was 100 or not. And I was like, man, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, right.
So
maybe not quite so
then
much.
It blew up
but...
all over Twitter and stuff, but yeah.
Oh man, that's a great. So when you're in a zone like this, you mentioned you're a little stitious. Do you find yourself doing some of that stuff? Like, I gotta eat the same thing that I ate the last time I pitched. Does that become real for you when you're pitching the way that you have to start this season?
I mean, not really, honestly.
Okay.
I'm a pretty even-keeled guy. When I'm pitching, and I just got my routines and stuff. It makes me a little stitious. But at the end of the day, I just trust my stuff, and I gotta trust my defense, and just go out there and execute the plan to the best I can, and it's just been going to that. It's been going good so far.
The specific jump, as we're chatting with Braxton Bragg, the specific jump from a high A to double A, and for you coming like so quickly, right? Like it happened that way. Everybody talks about it's the biggest jump that you make in the minors, right? Is from high A to double A. For you to have a couple of starts under your belt and for them to have gone so well, what did that do for your confidence uniquely? Like, obviously you were pitching well already, but to have it translate to the place where we say, hey, this is when you're facing major league competition, what did that do for you confidence-wise?
Yeah, no, for sure. The confidence, it definitely has grown because, you like before you get into pro ball, you think like, oh my gosh, double A, those dudes are unbelievable. And you think about triple A, think about the bigs, and you're like, wow, that's a big jump coming from college. But, like going into this season, spring training, like I've always been confident in myself to get anyone out. And, going into spring training, got to face some big leaguers. And, after facing big leaguers, it kind of changed my whole perspective on everything. And, it's like if I can get the best in the business out, I can get anyone out. And so there was definitely a jump from high A to double A, facing these guys. But, they still got to hit the ball, and they're human too, and they're just normal players, like just like I am.
Yep.
They're just, elite. So it's, just less misses, and, you got to lock in a little more. But, it definitely was a jump, but at the end of the day, I'm very confident in myself, and yeah, it's been good so far.
Braxton Bragg is with us here on GCR. Are you the type that, like, you've never doubted? Like, you have the stuff that you're going to get there? Or is that the type of thing that, like, you needed to see success? To be like, everybody's different in that way, right? Like, some guys will acknowledge, like, dude, I don't know. I'm doing this. I hope that it's going to work out. And other guys are, oh, I know. Are you more of the I know, or did you need to see some of the success in order to feel that confidence of, like, right, no, I belong here?
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm more of the I know.
Okay.
I mean, I've always been super competitive and everything. And so, even when I was in college, I remember going to big league games in Kansas City, and I'd be like, man, I could go out there and pitch right now. Like, I throw just as hard as this guy. But, it's obviously, like, looking back on it, that's just funny because, it's actually being in pro ball and seeing how big leaguers are, I would have got destroyed. But, no, I would say I'm more of an I know guy. I'm confident with, my stuff, and I trust the defense behind me, and that's a big part of it too. And I've had a lot of good people around me to get me to this point. So I don't want to act like I'm the only one doing what I'm doing, because there's a lot, a lot of help that comes from defense and coaching staff. And
I appreciate all that. I absolutely appreciate that. Braxton, what is your path to baseball, right? Like, I just want to get to know you a little bit. How did this, end up being? You mentioned being from Kansas City. Was it always baseball for you? Was it always pitching for you? When did you know? What made you fall in love with the game?
Yeah, so I'm a coach's kid. My dad, he coaches baseball at my high school. So I grew up playing baseball my whole life. Grew up playing basketball too. High school baseball started to get a little more serious, and I started to get a little better. and I played for my dad, which was awesome. It's one of the best times of my life, those 4 years. But yeah, so I just grew up my whole life, pretty much knowing I was going to play baseball. And yeah, and then I went to.
What about the pitching part of it?
Oh, yeah, no, I hit and pitched for the longest time, basically until I got to college, and then my senior year of high school is when I kind of started to pitch, at an elite level, and then I translated to college, and then they just wanted me to pitch.
And you're like, man, if I can do it, why not, right? Like, yeah, you got it, man. You got it. It creates your path moving forward. Did you grow up like okay, so this is tough because they've kind of owned the Orioles in recent years. Did you grow up a hardcore Royals fan?
No. Weirdly enough, I grew up an Angels fan.
Now, what is the story on that?
My dad, he grew up a fan, and
okay, you just sort of absorbed it. I get that.
My dad a lot, so yeah, just translated down.
Okay, all right. I can make some peace with that, right? Like the Angels, unfortunately, have been very harmless in recent years. God, that has been tough. What has it been like for you being in the Orioles system, right? Obviously, from top down, there's so much made about, how data-driven they are. What has that been like for you? How much feedback have you got? Maybe what's something uniquely that has particularly helped you since getting into the Orioles system?
Yeah, no, I'm very grateful for, being, drafted by the Orioles, because I developed, as a pitcher in a way I didn't really imagine myself, coming out of college. Being in an analytical organization, I didn't even know anything about analytics until I got drafted by the Orioles, and I started learning all this stuff. And, I think it's been very helpful for me to find out, what pitches I should use, to certain guys or certain counts that best suit me. And, I've obviously learned some new pitches that I touched on earlier with the kick change, and, I started throwing a cutter. I helped my sweeper get better. I started throwing a two-seam on my own. So, just taking in all that data, and just knowing the pitch usages has been very helpful in that way.
It's so funny because you referenced the kick change. I don't know. You pointed out like it's like that's the hot new thing, right? That everybody's doing. Whenever you like experiment with a pitch like this, is there any part of you that like rolls your eyes at it, like, oh, this is like, do you have confidence that like, hey, they know what they're doing, I'm gonna work on it, or do you end up like sort of saying, I don't know, man, like it just sort of feels like that's what everybody's doing?
No, it was like they started teaching me it towards the end of the season last year, and
yeah,
I would try and throw it, and it was like throwing the weirdest pitch ever. Like I every pitch I threw it would have went almost in the first base dugout, and so I was like, dude, this pitch sucks.
What are we doing?
And, right. But I knew I needed a pitch like that had the depth, so I could have better success against lefties. And so, in the off season, I finally was just like, screw it, I'm gonna try and learn this pitch. And so, I just started throwing it more and more and getting more comfortable with it. And then, sure enough, it's like my best pitch. So, you just gotta trust it, I guess. But yeah, there was a stretch there where I was like, dude, this pitch is the dumbest pitch ever.
What are we doing? We're wasting our time with this.
Braxton, I was curious kind of about your goals for the rest of 2025. I happened to see you pitch last year in Delmarva during, I think it was that stretch where you had like 4 or 5 straight scoreless starts. And obviously you spent the whole year in Delmarva, and then you were in Aberdeen for about a month. Now you got called up to AA, but before the end of April. Like how far do you see things going here? Like what do you want? What's a successful 2025 for you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's out of my control. And I just try to control what I can control. But, obviously I want to get to the big leagues, and I'm not, if my year ends in AA, my year ends in AAA, I'm still going to be thrilled because, that's where I year in high. So, to move up that many levels would be awesome. But yeah, obviously I want to get to the big leagues. Like I said earlier, I'm really confident in myself, and I feel like I can compete at any level. So I think obviously getting to the big leagues would be a great achievement this season. But either way, I'm just going to continue to control what I can control, and just keep getting better and fine tune my pitches, and just enjoy it along the ride.
Yeah, we're ready to have you here next week, by the way, Braxton. We could go for that. Hey, speaking of next week, the Baysox are back home next week with lots of great events, including STEM Day on Wednesday with the 11:05 a.m. start, Glow in the Park next Friday night, and a bit of a theme for a certain female singer on Espresso Night next Saturday. They say, please, please, please don't miss this event. I guess we're not allowed to say who that is because there's probably some copyright rules, but you understand how it works. And then next Sunday, Bark in the Park. Get to Baysox.com in order to find out more and get your tickets for all next week when the Chesapeake Baysox get home. Braxton, are you on Twitter or Instagram anywhere that Orioles fans can be giving you a follow?
Oh, yeah. It's just my name.
Search Braxton Bragg.
Yeah.
And
Braxton Bragg 30, I think.
Braxton. I think on Instagram, is it Braxton_Bragg 30? Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
All right, give him a follow there. Braxton, dude, congratulations, first of all. It's been awesome. May this continue forever. May the numbers be exactly like this right up until the moment we're talking to you as a member of the Baltimore Orioles. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning, man. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Braxton Bragg of the Chesapeake Baysox, who is off to a great start. Appreciate him taking the time for us. A lot of negative feedback to some of the stuff that Jon Heyman had to say. I understand it. I understand there's a lot of people that are pissed off and want to hear nothing other than fire everybody. I get it. I do. There's a lot of layers to this. It's the same people. When we psychoanalyze every answer that a manager gives, one of the people that has been very critical was responding to Jon Heyman this morning. I just happened to click on their Twitter account, and they're angry that the beat writers aren't asking Brandon Hyde why there aren't more big hits. Do you think Brandon Hyde has that answer? This is just where we get to. We get to a place where we're very, and I'm not trying to call anybody out. If the answers were easy, we wouldn't be here. I'm angry too, and I disagree with Jon Heyman about certain things. I disagree that to simply try to say Mike Elias took some risks. They're kind of similar to what other teams did, and his just haven't worked out. I don't agree with that, not remotely. I think it was easy. This is not second guessing. As the offseason was playing out, we all said the same thing. This doesn't make sense. This can't be your answer. It can't just be, well, maybe it'll work out with Charlie Morton. We all knew that. There needed to be some in between. And then we just got to a point where you were hoping for the best, and clearly you haven't gotten the best. Now, that doesn't explain the struggles of Adley Rutschman. But I can't just say, well, these were gambles that were worth taking, and sometimes they don't work out. This was a poor strategy for an offseason. Even if you believe, and I think the Orioles can absorb bigger contracts. And again, they were willing to give one out. They were willing to give 4 years and $180 million to Corbin Burns. So to say, well, they definitely can't do $7 and $215 for Max Fried, that's not significantly different. It's longer years, but for not much more money. But even if you agree, and some people do, believe that a team like this simply can't spend that way, fine, believe that. There had to be a better in-between. Had to be. Between Corbin Burns and Charlie Morton. Had to be. I can't accept that premise. But still, I also understand that you don't fire a general manager in May. That doesn't happen. We can have that conversation. But firing the general manager is not the answer. Firing the manager, I don't think is the answer. I think it's inevitable should this continue. We'll come back in, talk a little lacrosse on the other side as we continue along on a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Something big is coming to Maryland, but it's more than what you think. Because this year, it's more than a race. It's the Preakness Festival 150. And if there's one event you don't want to miss, it's the Magic of Maryland music celebration with DJ D-Nice, Club Quarantine 5 Live, BSO alongside conductor Igmar Thomas, special performances by Deborah Cox, Jadakiss, Too Short, and more. Tickets are limited. Find them and see all other events free and ticketed at PreaknessFestival.com.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas Combo, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious filling sandwiches including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4, available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and on the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the long road back from Tommy John surgery for Orioles closer Felix Bautista, as well as Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells. Also inside, we learn more about new Maryland basketball coach Buzz Williams from the players who have played for him at other stops. Plus, evaluators around baseball chime in on Orioles' top prospect Samuel Basayo. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Thursday edition of the program. All week we've been getting ready for the NCAA Lacrosse Tournament. And our next guest team is getting ready to take on Lynchburg Saturday down in Newport News, Virginia, hoping to get a matchup on Sunday with Christopher Newport. He is the head coach of the Mustangs at Stevenson University. He is our friend Paul Cantabene and is back with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn. It's good to chat. Thank you for taking the time as always.
Always a pleasure, buddy.
Everything good?
Yeah, well, living the dream, you know, trying to be more like you.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. Enough of that, man. Hey, this team, right, what you did early on in the year and the number of quality wins that you were able to get against non-conference opponents. I know that you're probably still frustrated about how the York games went, but the fact that you were able to build that up so that this time you wouldn't be left out of the NCAA tournament, how much pride do you have in this group and how they took on that gauntlet that you schedule every year?
Well, I think, you know, we embrace that schedule, and the guys do a great job with it, understanding that you got to play one way all the time. And I think that really embraces our program and everything. We've done a great job with it. So, you know, whether we're playing the top 10 team or a conference opponent, we're always going to try to play the same way, and they do a great job embracing that schedule.
What is it about this group, right? Like, what did you learn about this group? Maybe, you know, going back to the tournament last year, that maybe had them, they were more ready for those moments than perhaps other teams.
Well, I just think they're a prideful group. You know, we got a lot of guys from winning programs, and they're pretty prideful about their program and how they play, and they want to be successful, and they push themselves to do that. So I think, you know, that's the kind of guys that we have now and that we want, and then building that culture and everything's been great doing that. So we're really excited about the guys we have and what they're view on life is and how they play in the field.
You and I have talked about him internally over at Stevenson, but for public, for getting it out there to a different story, can you explain to everybody, Jack Scalidi, what he's doing right now and the way that he is ending his career on his terms?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Jack's been our captain for, 3 years. And unfortunately, he took a real bad fall in our Dickinson game and tore his ACL, and he didn't want his career to end that way. And so, he's done everything he could to get on the field, and for him to be playing at all is a miracle. But to be, to be as productive as he is doing, it's really incredible. So, he's done tremendous for us, and I think our guys look at that. Like, look at this guy. If they have an ACL, he's out there playing. I think I can do it.
I mean, it's unbelievable to me, truly, right? Like, and I know that it can be done, but it's just wild to me. Did you have to have a conversation with him? Like, Jack, are you sure? Like, are you sure this is what you want to do?
Well, I think we wanted to do what he wanted to do, and that's why we left it open to him and go, Jack, if you want to try this, let's do it. If you don't, then, we understand, because he wasn't coming back. Jack's an incredibly bright kid. He's already got a job, so he wasn't coming back. He wanted to do what's well, and he wanted to stay with the guys. So we just did what he wanted to do, and him and Cody, the trainer, did a great job together.
It's awesome, man. It's a really, really cool story. I mentioned, obviously, a year ago, you had to go on the road and play at Union in the first round, right? And you guys came away with a gutty, incredible win. How much do you think that experience benefits you guys as you get ready for going on the road this year in the NCAA tournament?
Well, I certainly think like last year, probably didn't, especially those young freshmen on offense, didn't know what was coming. So I think we're going to benefit from that experience, and they can let our defense know about what's going to come and to have them be ready for that as well. So I think we're eager for the opportunity to play a very good Lynchburg team and see if we can beat them again. We handled them in the regular season, but they're playing great now, and they're doing some things different, and we look forward to getting after it.
Of course, the first time you guys got together was in the Callum Robinson Mustang Classic, and you haven't been on my show since that all came about. Can you explain to everybody what that meant to you, what that meant to the program, and I know your relationship with Callum's family, what it meant to them to be able to do that, and how wonderful that weekend went?
I mean, it's just just to honor him in general is just very emotional for everybody. Just to be able to pull that off for him and his family and everything, it's just been tremendous. So, and it's been worldwide notoriation of it because it's just been so successful. So we're glad we were able to do it, and his parents are really happy. And I think all the alumni and everybody who knew Callum thought it was just a real successful event.
It was incredible. And what about for the way? And we talked about this last year with the way that your guys understood handling the moment of their championship. But, what has it meant to you to see these current players embrace that and his legacy, despite the fact that they, didn't know him personally, a lot of them, to try to embrace that and be a part of sharing the legacy of Callum Robinson?
Well, I think they fully understand, just from the alumni coming back last year, talking to them, just what Caleb meant to everybody, just his attitude and how he played and how he spread in positivity and how he lived larger than life. So I think all those guys have embraced that and kind of understand who he is and what he was all about. And we're really just excited that everybody keeps remembering him and keeps his memory alive for sure.
All right. So what does it take, man? What does it take for you guys to put this together you and I have talked so many times this year about that 60-minute thing where you see your team play their best lacrosse for some stretches, but then there's quarters where it just doesn't go right. How does it all come together now in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah. Well, we just got to play, one play at a time, one quarter at a time. You can't look forward. That's how these playoff games are won. Momentum comes and goes, and we just have to be solid about what we're going to do. So we got to play it one shift at a time, and if we can do that, we're going to be all right. And and just be solid. We don't have to be spectacular. We just have to be solid.
I feel like you guys can beat anybody in the country, right? I know that's true because we've seen that level of lacrosse against good teams. Do you still have to convince your guys? Did they have that confidence, or do you still have to convince them of that?
Well, I don't think we have to worry about the offensive guys. I just think the defensive guys are so young, playing all those sophomores and freshmen at that end of the field. I just think at times it's a lot for them, but they've embraced it. They've gotten a lot better over the course of the year, and I think they're going to do a great job this weekend.
All right. Do you still feel good about yourself with your quarterback getting an undeserved MVP award?
I feel great because it was so deserved because he was the best player in the league for the last 3 years. Stop it. I mean, I just don't know what to tell you. I mean, that's just the fact.
MVP's not even the first team All-Pro. I'm so sure. Sure that's legitimate, Coach.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'm sure. Right. Did you look at the stats? Come on. Let's just be realistic in the voting here. Okay. Let's be realistic about what we're doing.
Realistic. You're lucky that a tight end couldn't hang on to a football.
Well, hey, you got. Our tight end dropped one too. Remember, so that's all.
That's the way that it goes. All right. This
All right.
Saturday, first round of the tournament down in Newport News against Lynchburg. Coach, may there be a long run ahead. We'll be having another conversation, say, next week. Thank you. Appreciate you as always, man.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Paul Cantabene, head coach of the Stevenson Mustangs, with us here on GCR as they get ready to take on Lynchburg, who, as he mentioned, they beat in the Callum Robinson Mustang Classic. Not easy. Obviously, we always talk about that in the sport. It's not easy to be the same team twice in the course of a season. They're going to try to do that in order to advance to round 2. All right, you want to play the music again?
Oh.
You want to? It's fine. We'll let you finish it up.
Sure. Love to play the music for
really?
you.
Really? Again?
I mean, I don't know a best way to save these.
We're going to have to figure
It's Fighting Words with Griffin Bass.
something. We're going to have to figure something out. All right, this one's got to be quick.
Quick?
Yes. The Orioles play at 1 today. I want to wrap up the show.
You're watching that?
Yes, believe it or not, I will.
You just want to hear Jim Palmer get mad for 3 hours?
Actually, it was kind of disappointing.
Last night he wasn't
I
quite
thought
as-
Jim was very much like, you get 2 bloops and a blast. You're right back into it.
That's true. He did say that.
And the Orioles got plenty of fluke hits last night. My God.
That was the
They
only time
couldn't.
they were
They
getting
couldn't have
hits.
gotten more fluke hits last night.
And then Ryan Malcolm, it's the hardest ball he's hit in 2 weeks, and it turns into a double play to.
Well, and in fairness, Cedric Mullins was really close. The one down the right field line that was just foul. I'm not. Listen to me trying to make excuses. Like, dude, they almost had it.
They're close.
Stop.
What are we? UFC 315. It is Bilal Muhammad versus Jack Della in Montreal in the Bell Center. It's a good thing the Caps got rid of the Canadiens, so we don't have to worry about hockey trying to take over Montreal this weekend.
I'm pretty sure they would just not schedule it for Saturday night.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. You see how the Orioles. We see how stingy the Orioles can be with their venues. Bilal Muhammad, the reigning welterweight, reigning welterweight champion. This is 170. What it was? He last fought against Leon, I think. He beat Leon for his first undisputed belt. He is on an unbelievable run right now. And the thing with Bilal Muhammad is that he's, for outside non-MMA fans, heck, for even MMA fans, it's a little bit of a boring strategy, boring fight, boring strategy that Bilal Muhammad. He's a point fighter. He's gonna take you down, and then he's gonna win. He's gonna win rounds by taking you down and ending on top. He's gonna just jab you up from distance, and he's not gonna let you get close at all. I mean, this guy has not lost since 2019. He lost a decision to Jeff Neal. He's won. He's won. I can't even count these. I mean, I think he's won like 15 of his last 16, dating back to 2017. I mean, but only one knockout in that span. His one knockout, he knocked out Sean Brady a couple of years ago, and so he's fought less and less, and that's just because he's been so deserving of a title shot, and people have been reluctant to give it to him just because he's kind of more of a boring fight style. But he's here now. He looked very good against Leon Edwards. Another unanimous decision, 25 minutes, dominating Leon Edwards. It's hard to see this weekend going much differently. Apparently, odds makers though have it pretty close. Bilal is just -185 against Jack Della which is pretty interesting because Della is I don't know where he's at in the rankings. He's not the number one contender. I believe Shavkat Rakhmonov is the number one contender. He's the guy who has I think now he has like a 95% finish rate, but he had a 100% finish rate for a while. He's still undefeated, but I think he's either injured or I know we're coming out of Ramadan, so that might have had something to do with with his training schedule. So Jack Della steps up. I mean, it's not like this is short notice or anything. This has been in the books, but Jack Della is very good. He's an Australian guy and. Knocked out Gilbert Burns his last time out. He's on a very good run as well. He's a deserving title challenger. But it's hard to see why. I guess just because Jack Della is known for his punching power. He's got 12 knockouts of his 17 wins. So the thought process, I guess, is that if Bilal Muhammad is going to have this go 25 minutes no matter what, that's just more time that Jack Della has a chance to try and land that one punch.
Sure.
I don't see that happening. I think Bilal Muhammad is going to go ahead and probably cruise to a decision here, most likely how he always has. Just looking at the odds now. Decision for Bilal is +105. If you want to be safe and go with the The bet that I always like to place, Bilal by round 4 or 5 to get a finish in round 4 or 5, or decision is minus 125. So I like either of those, Bilal by decision at plus money or minus 125 in round 4 or 5. For Bilal to defend his welterweight belt, and then I would think Shavkat would be up next. But I mean, should be a good fight. Delamon Elena is a good fighter, and just don't want anything weird to happen. Obviously, when it comes to these main events, but just a little bit less fanfare, just because everyone kind of knows what more or less is in store here, and that's Bilal Muhammad is gonna he's gonna outpoint Delamon Elena for 25 minutes. Like, I don't think the most shocking thing to happen would be Delamon Elena winning a decision.
Okay.
Valentina Shevchenko.
Just real quick, I know that there's been a lot of like the sort of the subtext to this fight is Bilal Muhammad's Palestinian.
Sure.
Apparently, like at some point, they wouldn't put the Palestinian flag up.
Yeah, that's
the way that they do for fighters on the website.
Yeah.
Like they put up all the, and he kind of like spoke out, said, "Fix that, not okay." And apparently the UFC, who's not exactly a bastion of progress,
for sure,
did go back and fix that, and they've added the Palestinian flag next to his profile, and so I don't really know why it wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
That's kind of shameful to begin with. Like the comparison to Russia, well, like, Russia's actually the aggressor, right? I get it that like Palestinian terrorists were the aggressor, but it wasn't the state.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
That was the aggressor in the terrorist attack. It's the Russian state is the aggressor there, and that's the reason why you're paying the price. The Palestinian state, it's such a complicated conversation. It's not really one that I have any interest in. But there is a difference between, like, terrorists within the state and the actual state itself. So I guess I
think Bilal's a good guy to like do this with as well. He's a very great person. Like, when we talk about UFC fighters, he's a very like he's American. He's from Chicago, but he's got his parents are from Palestine. He's a guy that is on like the broadcast every other week, like doing studio stuff, doing panel stuff as an analyst, and he's very good at that. He's just outside of. He always tends to put on slower paced fights. That's the only knock that you have against Bilal Muhammad. And but he hasn't lost in 6 years. So I mean, can you really knock it? Can you really knock it at this point? He's finding success, and I like his success to continue on Saturday. Valentina Shevchenko will defend her. This will be her second reign now at women's flyweight after her trilogy with Alexa Grasso, who also fights earlier in the card. But she will be fighting Manon Fiorot out of France in the co-main event for the 125 belts. Valentina Shevchenko, obviously, probably one of the greatest women's fighters, at least in the UFC of all time. She's coming in as an underdog, a little bit of a surprise. I like Valentina Shevchenko a lot in this one as well. Manon Fiorot, like again, this is also experience versus, the inexperience of Manon Fiorot. This is just her 14th pro fight. This will be the 30th fight for Valentina Shevchenko. So she's got double the MMA experience as Fiorot. I mean, both have been exciting. Fiorot's kind of been deserving of this shot as well, where there's been this trilogy with Alexa Grasso, which has been more entertaining, I guess you should say, because Valentina Shevchenko was just running roughshod through everybody. She had like 8 straight wins, I want to say, until Grasso somehow choked her out, which was crazy. So you had to run that back 3 times. And Shevchenko came out on the other side, and for the first time in a while, she's an underdog against Manon Fiorot. And I mean, I feel like the odds are probably more or less accurate. It's minus 130 in favor of Fiorot. I feel like those should be flipped. Like Shevchenko should be more or less the favorite. But I guess we'll see what happens. I think there's a pretty decent value at plus money for Shevchenko to try and get this one done and defend her second reign here at flyweight, and then we'll see what happens from there. Jose Aldo is on this card. He is fighting a Canadian, Ayman Zahabi. This is another one of those. Like Aldo has like quadruple almost the MMA experience than as Zahabi. But it's weird because both guys are about the same age. Zahabi is 37. Aldo is now 38. And Aldo is still getting it done. He's still a big-time favorite, minus 200. Big time's not the right word, but minus 200. I mean, at 38 years old, Jose Aldo, at 135 pounds. It's crazy, just the career that Jose Aldo has had, and he's favored against Zahabi. I mean, it's just a solid card. There's not, I guess, a whole lot of star power, that's going to appeal to the non-diehard fans. It's a Canadian card, so they got plenty of Canadians up and down the card, which that should get some big pop. Jessica Andrade is fighting on the prelims. And I mean, yeah, there's just unfortunately just not a whole lot of guys that I feel like I can get to appeal to you. Like, I mean, Bilal Muhammad, I feel
sort
like
of no, sort of yes.
Benoit Saint-Denis is he's going to be the opening fight of the pay-per-view. He's the guy that lost to Dustin Poirier, but outside that, he's been knocking out everybody like in pretty ferocious fashion as well. A lot of bloody fights for Benoit Saint-Denis. He was supposed to fight Joel Alvarez, a Spaniard who is also on the come up at 155. Unfortunately, he had to bow out due to injury, so they found some random Canadian guy that he is now a minus 1,200 favorite over. So I think we'll get a Benoit Saint-Denis knockout. I'm pretty confident that on the opener. Hopefully, he doesn't take it slow. He doesn't seem like Benoit Saint-Denis. He's like a former French. He was in the military for France, and he's like he's just a crazy dude, and typically gets finishes in his fights. So hopefully that one's fun. That's that is. But there you go. Natalia Silva is fighting Alexa Grasso. That'll be. I mean, you could argue whoever wins that might be up next against the winner of Shevchenko-Fior, depending how that one goes. I mean, obviously, if Fior wins, there's probably an argument that Shevchenko has to get a rematch right away. But we'll see what happens. Again, the UFC, and as much grief as I was trying to give them about the Bo Nickel coverage, and they don't show the walkouts during these fight night cards. The pay-per-views always typically deliver in terms of broadcast quality, and it's going to feel like a big event. I'm looking forward to it as always with the pay-per-views.
All right,
so
again, get the Sports and Social and watch it there. That's the game plan. All right, we did way too much fighting words today, but
no, we didn't.
Yeah, I know. You'd prefer to do the entire 2 hours. I understand that. I mean, we can talk more about Bo Nickel.
Orioles?
I don't. You're right. I don't. All right. The basketball also wasn't great last night.
Well,
the first one was great. Yes, obvious. I mean, it was a great finish for sure.
I mean,
my God, man. Like, my God. I don't know what's going on with the Celtics. And it doesn't hurt me in any way because I don't root for the Celtics, but, like, my God. And then the second game was a blowout. Finally, a home team was like, we're going to win a game. Won. Bad news for basketball fans is Steph Curry. It's going to be a week for Steph Curry.
Did they rule like Game 3 already, too?
The word is a week, and then he'll be reevaluated. And Steve Kerr essentially kind of said there's I guess a 3-day break between a scheduled Game 5 and a scheduled Game 6, and that might be.
Of course there is.
It's conspiracy. There's when you could look at the possibility of a Steph Curry return, maybe. Like, that might be when they could evaluate it. The problem there being, like, they would have to win at least one more game in order to get to a Game 6. If the Timberwolves play as poorly as they did in Game 1, then the Warriors could sweep the series, frankly, even without Steph Curry. But I think it's very hard to imagine that they're going to play
holding 90
that poorly. Like, I just don't see that being the case. And without Steph Curry, it's like, I know they won that game, although part of that is they had Steph Curry in the first half. That's part of how they built up a big lead. I think a lot of us saw the same things, which is a Steph Curry-less Warriors team. You're hard-pressed to see how they can stay in a series with the Timberwolves. But again, maybe they win one game, they get it back to 3-2, and if they can get Steph Curry back for Game 6, who knows? I don't know. I just, my gut tells me this allows that series to go sideways quickly. And it's just a bummer for basketball fans, right? Like, if you love basketball, you want to see Steph Curry on the floor because he's very entertaining to watch. So
more Pat Spencer.
Yeah, potentially more Pat Spencer. And then the real question is, they sort of turn the keys over to Buddy Hield, who, frankly, is.
What, he had 30 in Game 7?
Yeah,
33?
he was the best player on the floor in Game 7. To be honest with you, Jimmy Butler has not looked like playoff Jimmy to me. Like, he's, I remember saying at the deadline, like, if I were the Warriors, I'd rather, before the Lakers made the Luka Doncic trade where we thought LeBron was in play to get traded, I was like, I'd rather have Jimmy Butler than LeBron.
He's not taking over games.
Yeah. He's just not like the guy that we've seen from the Heat. And some of that might have been deference to Steph Curry, the way that I talked about, like, there's gel problems with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Like, that never really worked. Part of that might be that he has just felt like he needed to show deference to Steph, but I don't know. He's just not really been that guy. And that's why you get Jimmy Butler. He hasn't been bad. I think he's just been meh, kind of. I mean, like, all right. So we'll see. Maybe this is what leads to the reemergence of playoff Jimmy and a guy that can carry teams the way that he has the last couple of years in Miami. But, he's also getting up there age-wise, and so maybe those days are just past him. And Buddy Hield's been, like, their savior for the Warriors that has allowed them to get to this point. So we'll see if that ends up continuing to be the case. That's the only game tonight. I'll tell you more about that in a second. When we get to Tubular, I think that's it. Is that?
We have one more break.
We have one more break? Really?
Yeah, did I miss one? I'm trying to think.
I thought
we didn't break until 10. Yeah, until after.
Wow. All right, fair enough.
Our first guest.
I believe you. All right, when we come back in, we'll get a tidbit and we'll get Tubular to wrap it up for Glenn Clark Radio.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
Discover luxury without limits at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. This April, unlock a world of high-fashion delights and exclusive style. Earn entries daily starting April 1st and join our drawing on Friday, April 25th. 19 will win up to $2,000 in cash and free play. And one grand prize winner will take home a curated Versace homeware collection. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Something big is coming to Maryland, but it's more than what you think. Because this year, it's more than a race. It's the Preakness Festival 150. And if there's one event you don't want to miss, it's the Magic of Maryland music celebration with DJ D-Nice, Club Quarantine 5 Live, BSO alongside conductor Igmar Thomas, special performances by Deborah Cox, Jadakiss, Too Short, and more. Tickets are limited. Find them and see all other events free and ticketed at PreaknessFestival.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and on the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the long road back from Tommy John surgery for Orioles closer Felix Bautista, as well as Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells. Also inside, we learn more about new Maryland basketball coach Buzz Williams from the players who have played for him at other stops. Plus, evaluators around baseball chime in on Orioles' top prospect Samuel Basayo. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we are winding down for a Thursday edition of the program. Let's get a tidbit brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. If you missed it on Monday, Stan, Ross, and Luke got together, talk some baseball. They do it every Monday throughout the course of the season. You can find it right now, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video to find Stan, Ross, and Luke. As always, Stan's show is brought to you by the Costas Inn.
Shohei Ohtani. He's what does he do? He plays baseball.
Yes.
First player this season.
I'm familiar.
First player this season to reach the 10 home run, 10 stolen base mark. Not a surprise after 50-50 last year. He was
Sure.
the first guy to do that, too.
Wow.
I'm just dropping tidbits all over.
Yeah, all over the place.
He 10 home runs, 10 stolen bases, and he did it in the Dodgers' first 36 games of the season as well. First time that's happened in 20 years. Didn't even do it last year that he reached 10-10 through 36 games.
20 years.
In 20
so
years.
It was 2005.
It was.
10-10 in 2005. Yuck. Alex Rodriguez?
Not Alex Rodriguez. But it was an American League East infielder. Well, he wasn't with the Yankees at that point, was he? But anyway, it is American League East infielder in 2005.
AL East infielder. Tejada?
No.
Man, I don't know. Nomar?
No.
I don't think he stole bases like that. Yuck.
Gosh. I'm looking at the highlight now, the home run that Ohtani hit the other day. He hit it 20 rows up in the second deck at Miami.
Was Brian Roberts?
Brian Roberts.
Really?
10-10 in the first 36 games.
I honest to God, I couldn't
2005.
remember if it was 05 or 06 that was Brian Roberts.
Yeah. Last guy to do 10-10 in the first 36 games. Brian Roberts.
How about
Shohei Ohtani. Before that was 04. It was Carlos Beltran.
All right.
Larry Walker, Barry Bonds, Jose Canseco did this twice, actually. Eric Davis, Andre Dawson, Carlos
My name is
Yastrzemski.
Jose, and I'm Mark.
Lou Brock, Ken Williams. So that's the list that Brian Roberts is on, along with now Shohei Ohtani.
Congratulations.
In 10-10. We did it yesterday. The Juan Soto 2 home runs. Guess what? He hit 2 home runs again yesterday. So we have to update that list. Players with multi home run games before turning 27. Should we redo it?
No.
Since
we should not.
Soto hit another.
We should not do that.
Jimmy Fox is still number 1.
Right. Okay.
Now Soto is tied though for second with 25 such games of 2+ home runs before turning 27. He's tied with A-Rod.
Yeah.
Mel Ott.
And
Eddie Matthews.
Right.
And there you go. Ralph
I
Conner,
I actually
Machado.
don't know that I would have remembered all of them.
Then I will do another one though, because Juan Soto, of course, also got walked a few times yesterday as well. And so Sarah Langs had the cool one of so Soto now has the most career walks before turning each of the following ages. So as a 19-year-old, so before turning 20. 79 walks, most by any player in their career before turning 20 years old. Most walks before turning 21, most walks before 33, or 33, 23, 24, 25, 26, 20, and now 27, with 798 career walks for Juan Soto. So it did make me want to look into it. Most walks among active players. Soto already has the 7th most career walks among active Major League Baseball players. 6 guys have more walks in their career.
All right. Besides Soto.
Soto's at 798 right now.
Bonds.
No, active players.
Active. Sorry,
active
I missed
players,
that part.
Players. So he's already got the 7th most among active players.
Andrew McCutchen.
Andrew McCutchen is number 2.
Paul Goldschmidt.
Paul Goldschmidt is on the list. He is 4th. One of 5 active players with 1,000 walks.
Harper.
Harper is 3rd. So you got number 1, or you're missing number 1. You got McCutchen 2, Harper 3, Goldschmidt 4.
Trout.
Trout is on the list. That is the next guy within Juan Soto's sights. He's still pretty far ahead, though. 6th place is Mike Trout, 992 walks.
So I could go perfect here.
You could. Got 2 left. Number 1 and number 5. Both guys over 1,000 walks in their career.
Both guys over 1,000 walks. Both guys over 1,000 walks. Machado?
Not Manny Machado. Let's see. Where's Manny? Manny is 15th, 622 walks. barely gets on.
Yeah. Freddie Freeman?
He's having like the best year of his career, isn't he? Yes, Freddie Freeman is on the list. Over 1,000 walks. 5th is Freddie Freeman.
Who the hell is first? Who am I forgetting about? Damn. Aaron Judge.
Not Aaron Judge. Judge does have more than Manny, though. Judge is already 10th, 716.
Nolan Arenado.
Not Arenado.
God damn.
Arenado below Machado. Below the Machado line.
Below the Machado line. Salvador Perez.
Not Salvi.
It's just got to be somebody who's been around for a long time.
It is.
That like I forget.
Yeah, you might not even know what team he's on right now.
Great.
He's a guy that, well, I don't want to give it away quite yet, but maybe one more guess.
Somebody it's been around forever that I've forgotten is active, that I don't even know what team they're on. Dope. I don't think Nelson Cruz is still active.
No, he is not still active.
He's still fine. I think he's finally.
Maybe
Joey Votto's not
No,
active
he's not
again,
active,
right?
is he? He's not active.
Justin Turner.
Justin Turner is active, but he's not on this list.
No.
This guy is feels like he's on a different American League Central team every year.
Different American League Central.
Justin Turner's
team every
21st, so he's ahead of Arenado.
He's on a different American League Central team every year.
I thought that would give it away. I guess not.
Carlos Santana?
Carlos Santana.
Really?
The most walks among active
How
players.
long has Carlos Santana been playing
He
baseball?
is 6 shy of 1,300 career walks. He has been playing since 2010. He signed with the LA Dodgers, a minor league deal in 2005.
How about it?
So he's been in pro baseball
All
for 20 years now. And yes, first 8 years with Cleveland.
How about it?
Then a year in Philly. Then went back to Cleveland for 2 years. Then he went to Kansas City for 2 years. Then he had a brief stop in Seattle. Brief half of 23 in Pittsburgh, half of 23 in Milwaukee. So he just stays in the Central Division mostly. The only time he hasn't been in the Central Division was 2018 with Philly and 2022 with Seattle, which I have zero memory of either of those. And then he went back. Then he was in Minnesota last year, and now he's back in Cleveland. Of course, of course.
Apparently, there's a Pope.
Okay,
So we got that going for us.
Is he the German one?
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. I don't think they've announced it because there's white smoke. Yeah, that's all they've got. There's white smoke, so that means there's a pope.
What's white smoke? Okay.
When they don't have a pope, they put out black smoke. When they found a pope, they put out white smoke, and then people get together and find out who the pope is. But apparently, there's a pope. So
good for
them.
Good
yes,
for
100%.
Vatican?
I don't know. Let's get tubular.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
Dean Kramer, Joe Ryan, the pitching matchup. Orioles trying to salvage one in Minnesota. 1:10 this afternoon on Masson. If you happen to live in the Dallas or Boston markets, but like
sucks.
Not but not like the Boston. If you live in a Boston market restaurant, doesn't qualify unless that Boston market is in the Dallas or Boston markets. Just keep that in mind. Then you can watch the game on MLB Network.
I think the one in Pikesville's closed.
That's a bummer. ESPN Hurricanes Capitals game 2 tonight at 7 o'clock. Real nail biter for the hardcores like Griffin. Oilers Golden Knights game 2 9:30. TNT and True TV for Warriors T-Wolves game 2 at 8:30. Baseball today MLB Network Rangers Red Sox 1:35 and Tigers Rockies after that. Reds Braves 7:15 then Dodgers Diamondbacks after that. MLB TV the free game is Phillies Rays 7:05. Golf Channel round 1 of the PGA Truist Championship at 2 o'clock, and TBS for AW Collision at 8. Non-sports. At Access TNA Impact as well.
Okay.
Lots of pro wrestling tonight because they can't do Collision on Saturday because Turner's got all the
I didn't even talk about what is it this weekend? It's
Battleground. WWE Battleground,
Okay.
St. Louis. Yes.
Yeah. Pat McAfee fighting
Yeah,
Gunther.
that's
and then we got
definitely something they should be doing.
Cena and Randy. Who you got? No.
John Cena.
Okay. What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's the big bad now. You got to build him up for a while.
You
Until
don't think Randy Orton's just gonna immediately knock him off?
Not a
Is
chance
he
in
gonna
hell.
cheat? You think?
Maybe or maybe not. I don't know.
Gonna help him. Logan Paul.
I don't know who would help him. Logan Paul's facing Jey Uso, of course.
Did you see what he freaking did at the end of the
Did I see that
Raw?
son of a bitch?
God, Uso was just high-fiving all the fans.
Right,
and
just
then
trying to
got sucker punch.
Unbelievable.
By some hooded
All right,
figure.
come on.
Who you got in the Gunther?
Shut up. Just read the non-sports.
People want this. It's
no
Fighting
one
Words.
cares.
It's Fighting Words Part 3.
No, I do a wrestling podcast, although I don't have time for that.
Oh, you're gonna spoil it. You don't want to spoil it.
Yeah,
okay, I
correct.
see. What do we? What's the? Big one for you. I know. Season 4 finale. I'm not sure what you're gonna do with your Thursday nights anymore. Season 4 finale of Ghosts on CBS. Bill Gates is gonna be on Colbert.
Oh yeah, that makes sense, right? He's plugging the new pope.
Really?
Yes.
Is he?
I don't.
Did
Think
he
so.
win
I don't think
the nomination?
So,
How's
yeah.
it work?
Yeah.
Natasha Lyonne and Ben Mendelsohn on Seth Meyers.
They are plugging American Pie 17.
Really?
Yes.
17 of them. Natasha Lyonne is on because
Poker Face. Yes.
Yes, new season of Poker Face, season 2. The first 3 episodes out today on Prime Video, so I'm pretty excited for that. Although I'm way behind because I still haven't finished Andor, which is what Ben Mendelsohn is in, by the way. Because I'm not caught up on Andor yet. I haven't even started season 2 of Last of Us, so I'm a little bit
unbelievable.
behind.
What are you doing with your life?
Well, I think I should have more time to catch up with things, especially with the Orioles.
There's
not
no
mattering.
reason to watch any baseball games.
Yeah. Hacks, new episode of that.
I do enjoy Hacks.
And Vanderpump Villa season 2.
That's the big one. Finally getting around to
Hulu.
that.
Oh, there's an octopus documentary on Prime Video as well.
Just about
octopi.
Okay.
Yeah. Narrated by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Apparently Tracy Morgan talks about octopuses as well.
Sure. Why not?
That was the only I was like, oh, maybe there'd be more celebrities
They're actually
talking about octopus.
You don't realize they're on the octopus documentary to plug Andor. That's actually what they're doing there. They're going on the octopus show to talk about Andor. So
exciting.
Got that going for them. Thanks today to Jon Heyman, although not all of you agree. Thanks to Braxton Bragg. Thanks to Paul Cantabene. And thanks to Randy Moss. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Brenda and Eddie. Popular Steadies. Right? Is that how it goes? Already by this summer, 75. Is that how it goes? Did I get it right? All right, we'll go back to the old one. I like the old one better anyway.
Didn't even try.
Maybe he'll be the one to dethrone Cena. Our guy. What do you mean didn't even try? I did. I just said
you didn't try.
How did I not try?
You know exactly what you did.
What did I do?
Why are you trying to gaslight it? You know exactly.
This is what you wanted me to do.
No, you kind of forgot about it, and then you half-assed. You didn't
How did I
actually
half-ass
attempt to do it. Stop it.
What do you mean didn't
You
attempt?
lit it on fire.
This is what he did.
No, you actually
Brenda
still.
and Eddie.
There's other words that follow. You don't just give up.
Yeah,
and
but
then
there's like several verses. I don't know which verses you want me to
any. You could pick any of them.
Popular Steadies.
But again, the whole thing.
King and the Queen.
No, you're just saying random words. That's all you're doing.
These are the lyrics.
Yes, but you're not.
I'm looking at the lyrics. To
I
make sure
understand
didn't forget.
that, but they have. There are verbs involved. It's not just.
How quick does he say it? He
nouns.
says it quick the whole time. Brenda and Eddie were the Popular Steadies and the King and the Queen of the prom.
You're very close. You're very close. Put it all together. We'll try again tomorrow.
I might go back to what we did
No,
before. I like that one better.
No, we're not going back to that.
I believe
doing it.
I believe in him.
No, this is you attempting to sabotage something.
Sabotage?
Yes, you're trying to sabotage it so that I won't do it again. I'm telling you, you don't get off the hook. You got to figure it out. You got to solve this problem. And then we'll do it for a little while, then I'll get sick of that, and then we'll do something else. That's the way it works. Try it again.
Brenda and Eddie.
No. We'll get it all up in the... No, we're not doing it.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
We're not doing it. You know what? We're not even putting the clips up today.
What?
Yeah, we're not even doing it.
People want fighting words.
Yeah, no, that one's actually, in fact, the only one we're not putting up. The rest of them you got to put up anyway. Oh, Rita's calling me. I'll talk to Rita.
Put her on?
No, not right now. We're talking about other things. Anything on the program tomorrow?
What could possibly be hidden from the program?
Anything tomorrow?
We're going to talk to Dan Zimborski.
Zimborski, Fangraphs. He wrote something about the Orioles recently.
He'll try to fire everyone as well.
I hope.
And, stuff and things.
Oh, good. Thanks, everybody at Press Box, all of our great sponsors and partners, including – is Stan in tomorrow?
Yeah, Stan is in tomorrow.
Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, the Preakness Festival, Baltimore's Classic 5 Golf Courses, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costas Inn, Maryland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. For the love of effing God, go Orioles. Duke sucks.